on 1080 The Fan.
All right, 6:02 in the Rose City. Time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. Good morning. Happy Monday, everybody. How we doing?
What is happening?
How we doing? How we doing?
Look at you over there, Noah Lyles, with your medal on. Are you the champion of the world? Just the United States? How do we count this thing? I did see, I guess Florida won the Little League World Series, and a bunch of people had jokes this weekend of Noah Lyles seeing that a team from Florida won the Little League World Series. He's in crumbles.
Well, they actually have to beat somebody from the world.
They did. I think they beat it
in America.
An international team. They're the actual world champs, bitch. Look at that.
Is that medal you're wearing worth more than the Olympic bronze at like $13?
Ooh, good question.
I think it might be worth more than that. It looks pretty fancy.
Might be the same material they use for the silver medal.
Is that all that you can sell the bronze medal for? It's only $13?
I think that's what they said.
I think it's the value of it.
The material is worth $13.
What a bummer to
I think
get
if you're an
that far.
actual athlete and it's your medal from the Olympics, the value is up.
Yeah,
but the actual
not much
stuff is worth that.
Just sentimental value, though. It's just I won a bronze medal, but I can't pawn that off someday if I'm in tough financial times. That's what you're telling me? That's kind of a bummer.
Gotta get the gold, baby.
Yeah, I mean, look, we run the race hood to coast every year for this stupid medal.
Yes, you got your medal. Yeah. What do you have? Where are the other 6? Are they all hanging up in
They're
one
hanging
spot?
up in my closet.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
in the closet, you got to get them in the garage.
Well, I'm trying to put together something.
Okay, have them in the background of the man cave.
I lost one.
Oh no!
I know.
You're a Jokic with his MVPs. Where is it? I don't know.
A little bit, yeah.
Could
we
be
moved.
anywhere.
I don't know where I put it. I went through it when I got home on Saturday night, and I went through all the years, and I ran High Desert, which is another hood to coast run at a different in October.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm missing one, and I'm like, where the hell is that medal? I don't know where it is. I don't know when I lost it.
Just lost in the shuffle somewhere.
I lost it, but I think this is my favorite one just because one.
Now they do they do a different design every year?
Every
okay,
year.
That's cool. I like that.
The shirts are different. The medals are always different. There's a new logo. You know, like the Blazers to do that drawing on a game night thing,
like the game day posters or whatever.
Yeah, that's kind of what Hood Coast does.
Okay, I'm all for that. As long as you give me a different little spin on it every year, and I can look back and remember each one individually because the logo and the year is different. Then you got to hold on to those bad boys.
This one was it was really hardcore earned.
Yeah, we got it done. We got the job done.
I had the hardest leg of the Vans.
It's out there grit week. Is that what you're telling me?
Grit week.
Yeah,
week 0, 1 week 0 for me. Week 1. Week 1 started this week. We're grinding. All right.
There's no turds here.
The first leg is so hard.
Yeah.
It's like 6 miles, and it's the last like 2 miles is just nothing but up.
That sounds wonderful.
It's not. It's
sounds ideal.
Mentally frustrating.
It's a great way to finish your first leg. Let's just run straight up a hill. This is awesome. I thought you started that you're coming down a mountain. Now, where are you running that first leg?
I was the 5th runner. We had come down the mountain.
Oh, you already were down the mountain and around the corner.
Now we're going into town.
Oh,
we're almost to Sandy now.
What are we doing?
Torture by choice.
Yeah,
Sounds
torture by
great.
choice. Yes, absolutely, 100%.
That should be their slogan. That's a great slogan for the Hood to Coast.
It is a great. You know what? That might be my hoodie next year. I saw there was a team on the race. They were wearing the sick hoodie, and on the back, and they were using the same font. And the back of it said, "Don't be a bitch, Hood to Coast 2024." And I said, "Where did you get that? I want to buy it." And he's like, "Oh, we actually made it." And I was like, "Well, that's cool. That's a good idea."
Trademark that bad boy.
Second leg, my buddy is running the 7-miler, and my cousin's next. He's got a short run, and then I'm after him. Okay. We're in between Scappoose and Portland.
Okay.
We're along Highway 30 at a random truck weigh station.
Somewhere down there.
And my buddy gets done over 7-mile run. He's in a dark place because, man, you ever run 7 miles?
Doesn't sound like fun.
No, I have not. Do I look like I've ever ran 7 miles?
There's people out there, Schultze. They're passing me.
Yeah.
They look like they're worse than you, and they're out there just getting it. They're grinding. And he gets done, and we walk to the car. Car doesn't start.
Uh-oh.
Try it again.
Uh-oh.
Car doesn't start.
Uh-oh.
And now I'm like panic. My cousin has started his less than 4-mile run.
He's
I'm
gonna
next.
Be 4 miles up the road. You got to get to that spot.
Oh my God, my IT bands on my knees are starting to hurt. Like that's starting to feel a little. My calves are a little sore. Now I'm mentally getting nervous, so we start asking around jumper cables. Oh, God, it's a rental. I don't have any. Then this volunteer says, I got a jumper box. We're like, great. He brings it up. Oh, it's dead. I'm like, okay, great.
This is awesome.
Now it's 10 o'clock at night. I'm calling my cousin or my father-in-law. I'm like, hey, your car's dead. I'm borrowing my father-in-law's car. I'm like, hey, your car's dead. I don't know what to do. Do we tow? Then we call Van 2. They're going to have to go to their house to get a car to take us. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm panicked. But I'm frozen in fear.
Yes.
I have a van mate in my car. He's 40 years old. He ran hood to coast for the 8th time this year. And he got out, and, man, he took care of business. He knew exactly what he was doing. He brought up out of nowhere. I'm just sitting paralyzed with fear and confusion. Oregon, the transportation. What is
the
it?
ODOT came.
ODOT, thank you. ODOT comes right in front of my car, jump starts that son of a bitch, and we get her going. Yeah. And I got there with about 10 minutes waiting before my cousin was finished. It was a panic.
Good for you.
Perfect timing to figure that all out. It's good to have a guy that knows what they're doing.
It was great.
Because that is a kind of an underrated key of the hood. You got to have a functioning vehicle.
Functioning vehicle is huge.
You're not just, the whole team's not running the entire way from the mountain down to the beach. You got to be able to get from stop to stop.
Yep.
You got to have some place to sit down and rest and not be able to sleep in the back seat.
And then I couldn't find my headphones. So I had a 5-point-something mile run.
Just dead silence.
In Scappoose, just nothing in darkness, just me. So
all you're hearing is just...
Yep.
You just raw dogging that run. Okay.
I raw dogged the hell out of it. All you see is my little lamp bobbing up and down. And I tell you, man, I haven't run that hard ever in my life. It wasn't the most impressive pace of my life.
Yeah.
But I gave every physical thing I had in that run. I ran like an 8:20 pace.
Oh, I'm now
5+ miles. I was passing
that.
people. Dear, good job.
Kneecap off.
Got to that finish line. I was delusional. No idea what I was doing.
What day is it? Where am I right now?
But it was fun. We finished. We got there. We finished a little late, but we got there. I was proud of everybody on our team.
It's all that matters.
It was a fun experience.
Did you see Dave Kingsella at the finish line? Was he already there and done? Was he partying it up by the time he got to the coast?
So Dave Kingsella, fun story. Dave Kingsella's OG Hood to Coast team here, which we have a few of our coworkers are on that team. They started at 3:55 a.m.
Very early in the morning.
We started at 5:55 a.m.
So a little bit later, 2 hours late.
We finished at 6:45 p.m. Saturday.
Okay, you're pushing it a little bit there. Was anybody left at the coast when you got to the coast?
Well, I'll give you a quick funny story on that. Dave Kingsella and them were done at 11:30 a.m.
11:30 a.m.?
Smoked
Absolutely
us.
Smoked you.
Smoked us. When we went and got our medals, there were 2 bunches of medals. There's 12 medals in a bunch, right? So everybody gets a medal. And there's only 2 on the table. And he goes, well, we got 2 left. Here you go. And we literally like, wow, did we get second to last?
Second? I mean, that's kind of impressive. I would rather be second to last than I would just somewhere jumbled in the middle.
We debated that. Would you rather be second to last or last? Because you could look at it and say, well, we were last. And I think I said the same thing you said, second to last. And somebody said, well, Reagan. I'm like, yeah, but that's not like a complimentary last place.
No.
And then I went, who was second to last? And they went, I was like, exactly. Nobody remembers second to last.
Exactly. You're going to be forgotten. And when you're in the middle, there's all those other medals you're finishing at the same time. You feel a little special. You finish kind of on your own. Look at that. We're at the coast.
Yep.
There's nobody else really here. Let's take our moment and celebrate our victory.
It turns out we weren't second to last.
No?
We looked it up. There were like 9 other teams that finished after us. One of them finished 2.5 hours after us.
Did they shut the thing down?
It shuts down at 9:30. They just made it.
They just arrived in time.
Barely made it.
Sorry, folks. The beer's all gone. There's no food left.
No party.
No party. The DJ's gone. We're not playing any music.
Ooh, it was questionable. Right? At one point, I'm like, are we going to not finish? What happens if you don't finish?
Yeah, what's the protocol there? You got to write a letter to get your medal in? Like, hey, I promise you I made it here at 9:45. Here's my timestamp. I'm on the beach at 10 o'clock at night. I want my medal, damn it.
The best was that I got pulled over on the way to our first run.
Ooh,
on the way to the mountain. Yeah.
What were you doing? Speeding too much on the way up?
10 over the limit, rhododendron. That did me in the state. He pulled me over. Had no Hood to Coast merch on the car, so I looked like just a regular car.
Just driving up the mountain.
We got license registration, please. It's race day. And I'm like, well, we're Hood to Coast. He looks in. He starts seeing stuff. He's like, are you guys runners? I'm like, yeah.
Yes, sir.
So he takes a photo of my ID.
Oh.
But then he was really cool about it. He said, just slow it down. Just trying to be safe.
Look
I
at
said,
that.
Absolutely, man. I'm running on an energy drink right now, and he let us go.
Hood to coast, getting you out of a speeding ticket.
It kind of did, yeah.
An ultimate win for the weekend.
And then I heard the start of our show because my father-in-law has our station programmed on his presets.
Hell yeah, father-in-law.
He's a P6.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, as long as you're a P something, as long as you show up on the preset
He's a P6.
and it's a touchable button, that's all I'll take. Any P, doesn't matter. P1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'll take it.
And what was amazing to me is once upon a time, I lived in Oregon City, and there's like 3 spots in Oregon City that whenever I drive through that like quarter mile, half mile section, our station just There was better service at Timberline Lodge listening to the start of the program.
Of course there was.
Than there was in those 3 pockets when I lived in Oregon City. I went, none of this makes sense.
We're big in the mountain communities. We're big.
Evidently we are.
We're big time up there. They're up at Timberline, man. You look out. There's a lot of Dirt and Sprague P6s up there. Okay?
So a quick question. This is not like I'm mad that he's here. Schultz is very helpful when he's in.
Schultz is here, yes.
Summer swag's still a thing.
And then
I guess I also ask, why did he come back Friday?
It's a great question, Bob. I don't know. He did not get in until midnight, and he got about 3 hours of sleep. He showed up to work on Friday.
He didn't come in until midnight Friday?
Thursday night into Friday. Yeah, so basically, midnight.
He went to bed Friday a.m.
Friday a.m., woke up, did the show Friday a.m., and the whole time I thought, why didn't you just take Friday instead of Monday?
Yeah.
And then have the buffer day going into the weekend and then work on Monday.
Okay. Were you available Friday?
I didn't quite understand
and
that.
that probably would have been better for my body, because I'll tell you what, since I had to come in with like the last second call, love hosting. I'm not complaining about that. I'm just trying to say, like, about a week and a half of not being able to catch up on sleep. I'm still not there because of this whole thing. So yeah, that probably would have been better for both of us.
He has been doing this job for a long time. He is, and I'm not exaggerating, he is one of the worst how would I put this? He's one of the worst people. Like, he doesn't know how to take days off. He doesn't know how to manage his day off.
No, timing and putting that puzzle together, not a strength
Why
of his.
would you know you're coming in midnight? You're going to wake, you have to be at the station by 4:30. Why would you work that day?
There was a listener that texted that in and was like, why the hell is he here right now? And I said,
knowing you're going to be off Monday, why would you just not take the Friday?
Right.
What logic is that?
It makes no sense. The last time I went to Hawaii, which was, 2 years ago, whatever it was, I had the same exact thing where we landed, I want to say at like midnight or 12:30. And I'm like, there is no circumstance in which I'm going to work the next day.
No.
I'm not getting home till 1 o'clock. I'm going to have to unpack. That takes forever. You're kind of jet lagged. You're not going to be able to fall asleep right away.
And then you still got to plan a show.
And then I got to plan a show. I've been on an airplane all night. Like, I got nothing. I'm not showing up to work in 2 hours. I'll see you on Monday. Like, I'm not doing that. And it didn't make any sense, Bob.
I thought he was going to be in today. I was surprised to see Schultz.
No, this is the last summer of Swag Week. And then we all get next Monday off because we're off on Labor Day. And then we're back to then it's no longer the summer.
Well, it's because our schools don't play any good teams.
Come on, I want to talk about Idaho and Idaho State.
I'm sure you do.
I'm fired up for those games. Check out the 2 deep.
We'll be back tonight with Ducks Roundtable. That's getting going tonight.
Can you name the coaches of Idaho and Idaho State?
Yeah. No, I cannot.
Well, we got a lot to get to today. It is a busy show. I just want to quickly say 51, 40, 42, 37, 38. And 33.
Shout out.
Van won.
Yes.
Squirtle Turtles, we did it. We finished this year. Squirtle Turtles got it done.
Well
Van
done.
2 kicked ass.
Proud of you guys.
Thank you.
Well done.
We brought home the trophy, Mom.
You did.
Let's get it going. A busy weekend in sports. A lot that I had to catch up on from my Hood to Coast dealings. And so we'll dive into all of it. We got a busy show. Let's tee it up next. Dirt and Sprague on the Fan.
The Ducks are on a roll.
Can I ask you a question?
What do you got, Bob?
Did Sean Keeler have to write an apology letter to Dion Sanders?
I highly doubt it. I think they're loving the publicity they're getting out of this. It's a hell of a story, man. Sensitive Sally head coach won't take questions from a reporter. I also, reading through the nicknames that he gave him, I was laughing out loud this weekend. Absolutely laughing out loud.
Sean Keeler writes for the Denver Post. He joins us at 7:30 today. He's been boycotted by Dion Sanders.
He is not allowed
to talk to Dion.
To speak to Coach Prime, that is, to you, okay? Get it right. Coach Prime. He's not allowed to ask questions.
I don't think anything aged as poorly as E.J. Manuel dissecting DJ Uiagalelei tape and basically saying DBs can't cover this.
Really?
Nick Saban had Florida State number 3 in his playoff preview I saw as his debut on game day started. And I went, man, what a bad weekend.
Look, we get a lot of stuff wrong in this industry. That's the beauty of sports. None of us know what's going to happen. If we did, we'd be Ken Barkley, professional gamblers, and we just take shots in the dark. It is a good feeling, though, when you get one right. And if you listen to the show on Friday at all, when I did about 15 minutes on it, I was so excited for college football to be back. I thought this game was going to be competitively good. I told you to take Georgia Tech plus 10.5, even though that line had shrunk from like 14 down to 10.
Dude, the money line was plus 332.
I mean, that's if you had big balls to make that bet, and good for you if you did and cashed out on it. But we did a segment because every year we talk about teams who were in the top 10 who lose and fall out and are unranked at the end of the season. Last year, USC was one of those teams, and Caleb Williams, all this hype, and then at the end of the year, you're 7-5.
Yeah.
I did like 10 straight minutes on how that team is going to be Florida State this year. And the Dirty Poll ranked them in the top 15 just out of sheer respect of, you went undefeated last year, so I will grant you a slot at number 14. That is not a top 10 team. DJ is not good, and it felt great to be right.
Yeah, isn't that the tough thing? Like I watched that game late. I watched it yesterday because, it happened really early on Saturday. I was running hood to coast.
That game flew. That first half was like an hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, it was quick. It was real quick.
Just really quick.
But I just, I said this last week before I left. I didn't pick Georgia Tech to win. I didn't do Sprague in the line. I missed that. But like we talked about, just in general, I didn't like Florida State going into the year. I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't think they win the ACC. They lost so much talent, and I hate saying it. He's such a nice dude, but he's just a very mediocre quarterback.
I mean, he is what he is at this point.
He's never. I'll say this. I'll be shocked if he's like a top 5 round pick.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch him if I was an NFL team.
I'd bring him in for an invite. I wouldn't waste a draft pick. I just don't watch him and go, oh, man, I'm terrified. He had some nice throws. I'll give it to him. The 4th and 8th throw when they were right there to tie it up. And it doesn't help when your defense is in an 8-minute drive just getting shredded by the run game. But also he doesn't elevate them.
No.
And so he just is what he is, and if your defense kind of sucks and Florida State's defensive line got gashed, Florida State's going to be in a lot of dogfights this year. I just don't know how many of those are going to win.
Well, and that's where I think last year we had the conversation about him going to Oregon State and the hope that he was going to be the next in line of a Michael Penix or a Bo Nix, right? You stop one, not great. What happened? The
reset.
The reset. You go to a new spot, good offense, and all right, here we go. Let's see what you have. And a lot of it was kind of scapegoated last year on their wide receiver play. And I'm not going to pretend that Oregon State had dominant wide receivers last year.
It wasn't very good.
They, of course, had separation issues, and I'm not putting all of that on DJ. But when I saw him go to Oregon State and play with one of the best offensive lines in the country, a coach who we all have had the opinion of a pretty smart offensive-minded head coach.
I still do.
I still do, right? He's a good offensive-minded head coach.
Take the over.
Right. Yeah, according to Aiden Giles.
It worked.
And one of the best running backs in the country in Damian Martinez, and you still were the same guy who was inconsistent and struggling at times with a clean pocket.
Yeah.
I don't need to see any more. I gave you the opportunity to reset. You did not reset. You're the same quarterback. And he's not terrible. This shouldn't sound like DJ's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. Of course he's not. But when you have that opportunity, you don't take advantage of it. You just are who you are. And so he had times on Saturday where, yes, he made a couple of nice throws. He also had times on Saturday where he had a perfect clean pocket, and he's missing guys down the field. And the other thing about DJ that has always been the truth, and that was especially the truth last year, when you can pressure him and make him uncomfortable, he's incredibly inaccurate. And he doesn't make good decisions. He's not smart at identifying where blitzers are coming from. He cannot identify how to get rid of the football quickly. It just, in it amazes me sometimes that quarterbacks pretend as if defenses will never blitz them and they will always have 6 seconds to throw the ball. Shedeur Sanders does this a lot, where you just drop back and you hold it. It's like, dude, you're going to get blitzed. Like, from time to time, you have to identify, I got a quick slant or my back's going to be in the flat. We make fun of guys like Bo Nix for not pushing the ball down the field, when how many of those throws are like, there's a free rusher coming off the edge and I'm just going to take 5 yards instead of holding it and taking a sack or taking a hit or forcing something. Just being smart and moving the offense and not putting yourself in bad down and distance situations. And he did not do that. There were so many times where he was just inaccurate or holding the ball or, couldn't quite make up his mind quick enough. He doesn't process information quickly enough. And Florida State is not in a position this year, because of what they lost, to carry him. They need him to be better than what he was. And I, unfortunately for them, just don't think that he's capable of doing that.
Well, I think the tough thing, because you mentioned it last year at Oregon State, where, we were throwing out, hey, could he have a Nix Penix type turnaround given what's here? And certainly receiver was a position where I think they had some talented guys, but like their tallest of that bunch was what, 6 foot?
I mean, your best wide receiver is a guy who was 5'7", probably.
So you had a bunch of like smaller receivers. You didn't have a physical, big body dude. Like you didn't have a Keon Coleman, who Jordan Travis had last year, right? He was just a stud for them. And so there was a little bit of like, it's not all, but it's not always his fault when they lose. Like I didn't watch that game and go, well, DJ lost them the game, but he's never the reason they also win.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
he's along for the ride.
He's just he's in there, he's along for the ride, and if somebody plays well, you can win. If your defensive line doesn't get gassed for almost 200 yards on the ground, you can probably win. It's just he's not going to elevate. And the one thing I remember thinking last year, because San Jose State came, I wasn't shocked they did what they did, but he looked good, they looked good, and so you went in, and then you started seeing it during conference play, and you're like, and like you got to a point where you're like, I'd rather just shoot Aiden Giles at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Aiden Giles is going to be a whole lot worse than this. And
play the first round,
he's
pretty
the future
good.
He's the future of the program at this point. At that juncture, I remember thinking I'd rather just see Aiden Giles, even if that would have sacrificed maybe another win for them. And I think a lot of Oregon State fans kind of felt that way of like, DJ's fine. But Aiden Giles is kind of the future. Yeah. And so I'm wondering now, because you go to the Florida State's Reddit page.
Oh, they're handling this very well.
Well,
which I was actually proud. Because I think the fear, and you have argued against this, and you look correct one game into the season. The fear was with an expanded playoff that games and weeks won't mean as much as they used to.
They will always matter.
And then Florida State loses this game, and it is all hell breaking loose on their website.
These people are psychos, dude. This sport is
They
a
are
religion.
demanding on their message boards refunds from their War Chant 24/7 site because the reporters were at practice every day, and according to the commenters, lying about how good the team was and getting the hopes up of the fan base. And then they're like, there's no way you were seeing this in practice. You were lying to us, and they're demanding refunds for their $6.99 a month.
I'm looking right now, and like right now there's a picture on the Reddit. I went through it last night. There's a picture still up, and it's when George Bush is at the school. The guy leans in for the 9/11 comment, and it says, "Sir, another team has fallen for the DJU hype."
Oh God! I mean, to their fans' credit,
they are. But I'm seriously asking this. At what week? Because I mean, my God, you got to be Boston College, but Brian, Bill O'Brien's there. At what point, though?
God, I totally forgot that.
Yeah. But Chin, at what point is DJ replaced? Because Florida State won't wait around. Like Oregon State did this. Like, hey, we got a former 5-star guy. He's coming to Corvallis.
They paid him a decent amount of money.
There's a little deal there of like, hey, come over here. We'll try to help you out as much as we can. Wink and a nod.
Yeah.
Florida State don't care. This is it for him in college, and so like they have no real investment past the season.
I think you give them another loss. If you have another loss, which likely will come at some point, it's 1 week, so maybe Florida State figures it out.
And maybe Georgia Tech is slightly better than we think.
Maybe my Yellow Jackets are just a dominant program this year. I'm glad that everybody around the country is now buying into the Georgia Tech hype. Brent Key is awesome, and they ran the football down their throat the entire game. There were conversations going into that Florida State had the best defensive line in the country.
I heard that too.
That was a thing. That was talked about on Friday going into NFL scouts and college coaches say say FSU might have the best D-line in the country. And Georgia Tech rammed it down their throat for 4 quarters, basically, and didn't even let Florida State have the ball in the second half, man. That was the crazy part about it, to your point about DJ not necessarily being completely to blame. It was a team loss for Florida State. You can't ask for a better start to the year, though. Like, that was such a fun, entertaining game. I watched the first half on the train ride up to Seattle. I was checking on my phone just to see what the score was, so I knew the outcome. And then I got back late Saturday night. I'm like, I got to watch this game. Joe Tessitore on the call, pot of gold at the end of their rainbow. That was such a fun way to start the year.
No, and I do feel a little bit for Florida State fan because I feel like Oregon's been in this situation via LSU. Like early in the season, wasn't obviously in Dublin, Ireland, but a lot of hype going into it. You think you're going to get the win. You expect DJ not just to be able to throw well, but actually get out and run. I was shocked that he didn't actually.
Yeah,
get
they
out.
didn't use his legs.
No, and I'm just wondering. It's like, dude, you're 23. Are you done running already, or did they?
It's his big problem. I thought he didn't do it enough at Oregon State too. I'm like, his big body, like, just get in there and do the tush push.
He is massive. I remember seeing him on the field at the Civil War, just like, dude, this guy, he is a better version to me of Joe Milton. When you see him and his physicality and his like, he is massive and he can throw the football a mile, and it's just like, I understand why people drool over him.
All the physical traits are there.
The physical traits are there. It was hilarious. Somebody had a graphic this weekend. The number 1 and number 2 quarterbacks in the recruiting class that he was in, he was number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 in that class was C.J. Stroud, who's now going into his second year in the NFL.
Yeah.
And DJ is on his third college program in 5 years.
A little more on this and an aspect that you pointed out that I thought was a real takeaway from me. We'll get to that coming up next on The Fan.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the newly managed Seattle Mariners getting the series win over the San Francisco Giants with a 4-3 final yesterday. Justin Turner and Josh Rojas both contributing 2 hits. Brian Wu spinning a 7-inning gem, had 7 strikeouts. They're on to host a 3-game set with the Tampa Bay Rays starting tonight. Unfortunately, though, the Houston Astros doubling up the Baltimore Orioles 6-3, keeping their lead at 5.5 games in the AL West. Now just 31 games left in the regular season. Keegan Bradley won the BMW Championship with an even final round and a 12-under overall, besting Ludwig Åberg, Adam Scott, and Sam Burns by just a stroke. His 7th PGA Tour victory moves him into 4th place in the FedEx Cup standing. And some news out of the NFL. According to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, the LA Rams allowing linebacker Ernest Jones IV to seek a trade after he was unable to come to terms on an extension with the Rams. He had 145 tackles and 4.5 sacks last season. And Zach Wilson successfully making the Denver Broncos 53-man roster as a backup after he had a nice 250-plus yard performance in the final game of the preseason. Also, the Miami Dolphins cutting quarterback Mac White after losing the competition for the backup job to Skylar Thompson. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schultze at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't send you a bill. Portland's sports leader, 1080.
former offensive lineman, how much pride did you have watching that group control the line of scrimmage?
Are you kidding me? Run the ball.
That's Brent Key, head coach of Georgia Tech. Run the ball.
Run the ball. They had one of the best rushing offenses in the country last year, and I think they're going to be right there again this year, man.
Well, the other thing about this is that whole conversation we just had, while I think we were making valid points or observations, this is why I will always love college football. What if Georgia Tech's like a top 18 team this year?
Yeah, what if they go 9-3 this year? What if they're a dark horse team in the ACC?
Yeah, like they're battling to the end, and they have this great seat, Haynes King, and that, the defense played relatively well. Like, that's the other part of this. What if Florida State's not awful? They're just not as good, and Georgia Tech is better.
Maybe.
Right. And they lose a heartbreaking game, could have been 9-3, and that's where we lose context. And you said it, and I'm not high-stepping Dion here, but this is why I laugh at the notion of like an expanded playoff will kill the pageantry and the diehard passion of what college is. No, it won't. It's a ridiculous statement because so many sections of our country that love that sport, every game will just always matter. And even if you say, well, take Oregon. If Oregon loses to Ohio State, and that's their first loss of the year, it's going to matter because, one, you'll talk about what you saw in the game. Did Ohio State beat the living hell out of you? Or
how did you lose?
Did you mismanage something? Like, there's a takeaway.
He's going to go for it on 4th down again and not get it, and that'll be a talking point.
Right, and you can say, well, they're not out of the playoff, and nobody would argue that, but it would be, well, what seed are you going to be? What are you looking at right now? And now you go forward, and even if your team's not out of the playoff race, and Florida State isn't technically.
No, you win the ACC, you're automatically in the playoff.
Yes, and if you don't win your conference title, can you get in with 2 losses? And what seed are you? So, like, I've just always laughed at this notion that some expanded playoff eliminates what these seasons have meant in years past. I've been more the other. I hate that if a team loses week 1 or 0, whatever the hell it's called, that their season's basically over. It's a ridiculous standard. It's football. We all know how hard football is. The Chiefs lost how many games last year?
Including their opener to the Detroit Lions.
The Raiders beat them at home. So,
They did.
Football is football, as a great scholar would once say. And so I love it. I love that they lost, and I love that we're already here acting like their season's over, even though we know it isn't.
Well, to that point, it is a good reminder over the next 2 weeks because we're on the brink of the NFL season kicking off, and we're on the brink of college football fully kicking off this weekend, continues on Thursday.
Oh, this week.
I can't wait. And Josh Pate, our good friend who will join us every Wednesday during the season, has a great line early in the year saying, smart people make observations out of week 1, dumb people make conclusions out of week 1.
Right.
And that's what you don't want to do. You see a team, we're so excited and hyped up, and we have these thoughts about how teams are going to be. You get to see them for the first time, and if they don't live up to a certain expectation, you write it down in Sharpie, Florida State's going to be garbage all year. Well, maybe they're a 9-3 team. Maybe Georgia Tech's just a bad matchup for them. Maybe Georgia Tech's really good. We have no clue how that's going to play out. The funny part for me ultimately was, and this is coming from watching our conference crumble a year ago and everybody leave outside of the 2 programs who were left, Florida State spent the entire offseason trying to argue that they were better than, we're too good for the ACC. We went 13-0 last year. We got left out of the college football playoff because the ACC's terrible. We need to move. We need a better home. We can no longer. They're suing their own conference to get out of it. And then they lost to Georgia Tech in week 1. And there was a sweet bit of irony there that I rather enjoyed. And also, the final thought on this whole, we don't need to get into the debate again. That was in last December. It was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. My advice to them, though, is just move on. Like the booing of Herb Street stuff and making him a villain and the signs that were every time he talked, they booed him. They are so stuck on last year. My program also was left out of a national championship game, wrongfully so, in 2001. Oregon should have been in the national title game, not an appearance in the playoff. They should have played in a national title game. Nebraska making it over Oregon is one of the worst decisions in the history of the sport. They got dog-walked by Colorado the week before, and we all knew that they were going to get killed by Miami.
And Oregon trounced Colorado.
And Oregon would have also gotten trounced trounced by Miami, for the record, but they deserve to be in that game.
Yes.
And we didn't spend the next year boycotting ESPN and booing everybody on game day and whatever. We weren't burning computers in the parking lots of Eugene because the computers screwed us. This happens, man. It was not an easy decision. Get over it. You would have been killed in the playoff. It allowed you to play the victim card for an offseason, but it's time to move on. You got embarrassed in your first game of the year. You better focus on that and not hatred toward Kirk Herbstreit because it could be a long year for you.
I didn't get to watch game day, obviously. I saw that McAfee threw up twice during a show.
He pounded about 15 Guinnesses live on the air Friday.
Well, I went and I caught up on all this stuff, and I had heard that he basically said that they had taken 100 milligram.
He talked about the edible they took on the plane over, and he for their 2-hour show in a pub in Dublin. He
looked like he did.
Pounded Guinnesses the entire show.
Yeah, he looked absolutely blackout drunk. I didn't watch the game day festivities. Did you?
I did watch it. Yeah.
Okay.
We were on the our train left at like 6:40, so I think I turned it on at like 7:30 and watched the last hour and a half of it.
Boy, teams that need a turnaround spark, man, just play the Giants.
Hey!
Shut up.
My team sucks. Right? They won the game I went to. That's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I quickly say that I guess maybe I feel a little bit of what Florida State fans are experiencing because of just that. You set a 9-3 expectation at the end of the season looks okay, right? But for their fans, they were arguing all off season. Hey, no, we are better than this conference. I'm assuming that means we think we should be competing in the college football playoff for a national title. 9-3 to them is devastating.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And I'm not saying that they're all like sane on these message boards. They're always crazy. And I get it. I have sounded pretty crazy trying to defend the Ducks at times, but this is they thought that they had the guy coming in, and then this is a pretty stark difference. Like for what? Not just like the off season, but literally the past like 5 months. It's not just training camp for this team. You've been hearing about them for months. Touting DJ.
It's not just DJ to me though. I think it's more the defensive line. I mean that the amount of people that were saying that defensive front was going to be pretty loaded and a vaunted front like that didn't look like that. They got severely outrushed. Georgia Tech ran all over them. They got pushed around in that game. So I just think it's a false, evaluation of what their talent was. And 9-3 certainly would be devastating to their fan base. I still think 9-3 after losing the talent they lost, that'd still be a pretty good year. And the ACC is still going to be intact next year.
The ACC is still wide open at this point. Like Clemson, I'm not a firm believer in. Are we trusting fully in Mario? Like,
not yet.
The ACC is wide open this year.
So it won't be great for them. Their fans will freak out. But like for Norvell to be what he was at Florida State, to go undefeated and then have to reset, but be 9-3 in a reset, that's still a relatively good year. What did you make of Saban quickly on game day? Did you like the experience?
I love Saban. He's great. I know he had comments that pissed some people off talking about Florida State and the playoff decision, and that ended up being a whole thing that went viral, and everybody got upset online about that. I think he's going to be an awesome analyst for the upcoming year. It's a great hire for them, and I give it 2 thumbs up. I'm also somebody who likes McAfee. I like the entertainment and
the wrestling aspect.
The energy that he brings is great. The last note I'll bring up on this, because I do want to make sure we point it out, I do think there's an interesting conversation at a larger scale. We'll see how the rest of the year goes for Florida State. They are a team, and this is a debate we constantly have, of how do you build your roster in modern college football? Do you do it through high school recruiting portal or a combination of both? He hit the Mike Norvell, that is. He hit the portal jackpot last year, right? I mean, just finding Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, Trey Benson, like they filled out a roster largely with key players through the portal, and it hit, and they went 13-0. And if Jordan Travis doesn't get hurt, they would have had a legit shot maybe to go on a run in the playoff. It's not easy to do it every year. Their last 3 high school recruiting classes that have built into this, so juniors on this team, are 13th, 20th, and 19th in the country. Like that's just, you cannot compete at the highest level having recruiting classes that are 19 and 20. You can find diamonds in the rough, but that's not usually the way it works. It's not easy to build it through the portal every year because you're going to have years where guys just don't pop, and that might be the case this year for Florida State, and they got to figure out a way to get those recruiting classes into the top 10 in the high school ranks.
Does Mike Norvell follow Big Dave Uyunglele on Twitter? Because he probably didn't like a lot of the tweets he was sending.
we already calling out the coach.
A lot of the coaching staff fault that they lost that game.
Of course it is. Of course it's their fault.
Well, didn't the coach say the offense needed to be more explosive? I mean, then who's correct here?
Basketball coverage on The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Switch to T-Mobile, and you can get tons of benefits and still save on every plan versus AT&T and Verizon. Use their savings calculator to find out how at T-Mobile.com/switch. Do we buy this list, this sports list, next on The Fan? Showered at my house, and then we were leaving my neighborhood. A SWAT van came into our neighborhood.
Whoa, what's going on in there?
Oh, we had a psycho.
Really?
She pointed a. So this is what all the intel. So one of my
the neighborhood scuttlebutt. What's going on?
So this lady is kind of notorious in our neighborhood. There's no exit. Like when you go in the neighborhood, it's the same way you go out, right?
Yeah, one way in, one way out.
Right. She is notorious for being like riding people's ass and like they're going 25 and she's hammering the horn and she's screaming and her arms are flailing like she's been caught doing it multiple times and people have yelled at her.
Normal behavior in a neighborhood. You want to go 50 miles an hour through. Sure.
Dude, like, yeah. And so this lady's nuts. She drives a Subaru and she's just like always riding people. And so as we leave, there's a SWAT van that comes in. Like, I don't know if you've seen a SWAT truck.
They're a little intimidating.
Oh, man, it looks like they're going to go fight a T-Rex.
Yeah.
This thing is heavy duty, real. 23 cops came to our neighborhood.
Holy hell.
And there was a SWAT. One of my van mate's nieces, I guess she likes to listen to police scanners once in a while. She's texting him updates with what the police scanner is saying.
That's awesome.
Now, SWAT isn't on police scanners. They have their own private channel that you
Yeah.
will never hear for what they see. And so we're listening to this, and my van was like, should you go back and get your wife and kids? And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, we got to go to the coast. So
Yeah, we're they'll be all right. We'll be
I
okay.
text her. I said, hey, get out of the neighborhood. It looks weird.
There could be a bomb that goes off at any time. I don't know what that lady's got going on in her basement, but I got to go run.
But we have a friend that lives up where they were across the street. This lady was pointing a crossbow at children.
Oh, that's a normal thing to do.
And then when the cops showed up, she then proceeded to run into her house, grab gasoline, and start like pouring it all over her house.
Oh.
And now we have a standoff situation because evidently there may have been a safe with some guns and nobody knew if she had the safe code.
Right.
So now my neighborhood is now becoming a little bit of a war zone.
This is all shutting down at this point.
They told some neighbors to evacuate. They said, hey, you need to get out of here.
I mean, if she lights that thing on fire, she could have a bomb in there. You have no clue what's going on.
This lady's nuts.
Yeah.
So they basically spent hours having to do like hostage negotiation type stuff.
What the?
Backstory, we found out this woman has had multiple altercations with neighbors. One neighbor, she bit their finger to the bone. And I think somebody told me her husband, but I cannot,
Confirm or
verify
deny.
that.
Yeah.
Stabbed somebody with a fork.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
How many incidents does it take to put you in the straitjacket in the padded room?
So I talked to somebody that would kind of have a good feel for this situation. I basically said, how are you able to just be in society if this is who you are?
You can't bite fingers and stab people with forks. It's not
And he
okay.
goes, she's probably going to be home tomorrow or Tuesday. And I said, what?
That's encouraging to hear.
Because the only thing you can really do is like file a restraining order because I heard that who she stabbed with a fork might be somebody who wouldn't have pressed charges, which is like, why would you not?
Yeah, I would immediately press charges. If you stab me with a fork, I'm coming
That is
after
the
you.
most Portland thing ever. Oh, you know what?
I don't
they
live in
were just
Portland.
having a bad day.
I don't live in Portland.
Yeah, it's not
You
Portland.
live in the Portland area, bro.
Nah, I don't-
It's close
no.
enough. Portland proper.
No, you stop. I don't live in Portland.
We're
You know, you're going to badmouth Portland publicly. Get it right. I live in Clackamas County.
He's a Damascus guy.
I'm a Damascus bro. Okay? So
All
why
right,
don't
you D, bro.
Okay. You just go on your news channels and you spout off about Clackamas County next time, not Portland, okay? This didn't happen in Portland.
It's just great. You got some crazies out there too, man. I'm glad we're sharing our crazies with you.
Crazy.
Now,
You want to know how they got her?
yeah.
So evidently, I heard she was on the roof. I don't know, again, can't verify.
Neighborhood.
This was, word of mouth people texting. I heard she was on the roof with the gasoline. And I heard the fire department showed up and hosed her ass off the house.
All right, that's enough, lady. Come on now.
I wish I could have seen it.
That's
Oh.
got to be so fun to watch. Everybody in the neighborhood definitely hates this lady.
Oh, nobody likes
They
this
want
lady,
this to
dude.
be over with. She's biting people. She's riding your ass in a car. Like, get out of the damn neighborhood. You were bringing it down for everybody else. That is tricky, though, because I know your neighborhood.
Yeah.
And when there's only one way in and one way out, it's different if it just happens and it's like 3 blocks away from you, but it's
Sure.
just like a normal flowing neighborhood. When that has to go in and out of you're not too far in from the entrance to the neighborhood either. Like, you're a
No.
little bit down the road, but you're kind of near the opening gate. So
Yeah.
everything's got to come. You're not near the back where nothing really goes by your house. All of it has to go by your house. Little uncomfortable.
Can I ask you one more question? I didn't get to my list here. I'll get to that and got some other dealings to get to in the second hour. If your wife stabbed you with a fork
Mhm.
and you know she's crazy,
Yeah.
it's like one of those, like, you know it and you know other people know it, but you don't admit it and you don't divorce. So now you're just in on the crazy.
Yeah.
If your wife stabs you with a fork, are you pressing charges?
I mean,
Yes?
no, because you're already kind of in the purse, I feel like. That's kind of gross, but you're not going to. Ugh.
I mean, I don't know about pressing charges,
And
but
do you ever sleep with your eyes fully closed?
I'm definitely getting the hell out of there. If I'm attacked by a
Are
fork,
you though? Because
I
you know
am.
she's crazy.
I'm getting the hell out of there.
Yeah, no, see, normally, yes, that's what we would do, but from the...
Especially if kids are involved. Like, are there kids involved in this
Yeah,
situation?
what's
I
scenario
can't
here?
speak on that. I don't
Okay,
know. I don't want to
not
say.
sure.
I mean, I've already probably said
Too much.
too much.
I feel like the husband's...
She's coming for you now. She knows where you live.
The
I
husband's...
hope she does.
You have a lady out there with a gas can waiting for you when you get home.
No, the husband's suffering...
Well, why'd you say my last name?
Sorry,
What
my
are you
bad.
doing
My
here?
bad. It's on the show, so
Yeah,
I think
well,
they
that's
figured
true.
that out.
That's true. No, the husband's like suffering from Stockholm syndrome, essentially, and just is
He's
kind of
just
trapped
stuck?
within that
Oh,
situation, I
terrible.
think. It's kind of how it sounds.
Can you imagine taking a fork to the neck and just being like, oh, all right, what do you want for dinner, honey?
Here's breakfast.
Imagine
Well,
hearing
no.
your kids had a crossbow pointed at him by your neighbor.
I would be terrified. Absolutely terrified.
I hope I never see her in my neighborhood again.
Hopefully this was the final
Yeah.
thing, and
Yes.
we were able to settle this and get her out of there
Yeah.
to a spot where it's not,
A padded cell.
putting the neighborhood in danger, right?
Let's get to the list, college football list. We got loaded second hour of the show, Dirt and Sprague, hour number 2 on the Fan and the Odyssey app.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles.
Sexiest man alive. And virgins making news.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
The worst day to be horny is Sunday. The best day is a Friday and Saturday night.
Andy Dirt Johnson.
You want to close. Close. As in C-L-O-S-E. Not C-L-O-T-H-E-S.
And Brandon Sprague.
I love me a Spanish-speaking woman. I really, really, really do. I love it. Now, that ain't all you got to have. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to have it, but I mean, it is a plus. A bilingual woman, specifically Spanish, whispering in your ear, it's a beautiful thing.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
The expectation is that you're going to be ready to step up and handle your business. That's her expectation, whether she tells you or not. Am I right, Solange? Amen. Amen.
The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2, Dirt and Sprague here on 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2, and of course, YouTube. Good morning, YouTube.
Hello, everybody.
If you missed the first hour of the show, we talked a little bit about Swag's bad vacation scheduling.
Yes, horrible planning on his part.
I did survive my 7th year of Hood to Coast, though my left
Congratulations.
Achilles felt like it was going to pop 90 times.
How long until you run again? How long is it going to be?
I'm taking, running, I might take a solid 3
Yeah, to
weeks
give yourself
off.
a good break.
Yeah, dude, my Achilles... I was actually, this is douchey, I was really impressed with my time on my final leg because
solid run, man.
I run 600 feet up on
Straight
my
up the
final
hill,
leg, and then
yeah.
it's 2 miles down.
Not good.
And I had like a 10:01 pace, got 9 kills on that run, and my Achilles the whole time I was just like, I kept seeing Kobe in my brain.
Yeah, popping. You're shooting your free throws with a popped Achilles out there.
The KD injury in Toronto. I'm like, don't do it, don't do it.
Don't snap.
But we got through it. So we talked about that. We got to the Florida State loss to Georgia Tech, a little DJU ACC talk, and a crazy-ass neighbor in my neighborhood.
Yes. People are saying that you should get your own crossbow.
Well,
Just have it sit out on your porch with a crossbow as she drives by. What are you going to do, lady? What are you going to do, huh?
aside from the nuts and craziness of having a SWAT unit go into your neighborhood, I was stuck for a while on the fact of all the weapons to be pointing. How often would you see a crossbow? What's the percentage of a crossbow?
Yeah.
What's the usage rate of crossbow with weapon?
Also, I don't know anything about this lady and her physical makeup.
I tell you, she's white with glasses, looks like
Older
she's in
lady.
the 40 to 50 range.
I got to tell you, the threat of the crossbow, pretty low on the list. I'm actually relieved that it's a crossbow and not a shotgun.
Really?
I am. Like that have you ever shot a crossbow?
I've never shot a gun.
It's not easy to do. Like to pull those things back, like if it's a legitimate thing, like it takes a lot of aim, it takes a lot of practice. You got to know what you're doing with that thing.
I've done a bow and arrow. That is hard to
Sure,
do when it's got weighted.
I think for an old lady, a crossbow is too. I'm giving her a hit rate from more than 20 yards at 7%.
Dirt, I think if you saw this lady, you'd disagree with her.
I'm not terrified. Go ahead. What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
Bring it on, crossbow lady.
You know
You're
what
not
happens
hitting me.
in a movie?
I'm a half a football field away. There's no chance you're making this shot.
In a movie, Schultze, he says, "Oh, what are you gonna do?" And she literally shoots it, and now he's got a bow and arrow stuck in his chest.
Yeah, it's all right. It's a badass thing to have. And I'm walking around with an arrow sticking out of me.
No,
I look like a tough guy.
You're on the ground dead, dude.
Charging her. Get out of here.
What are you
We're
talking
not
about?
scared.
This sounds like the exact kind of person that would have a crossbow. So it's just
Yeah.
like they're kind of out there.
Yes.
They're either, it's like you just named their 2 weapons of choice, a shotgun or a crossbow. It's going to be one of the 2. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there's a lady with a machete back there with the same sort of mental makeup.
Yeah.
Sean Keeler of the Denver Post is going to join us. He's been in the news this weekend. He's getting boycotted by Dion.
He is, yeah. He called him what was some of the he came up with just some phenomenal nicknames for Dion that he used in his articles, and he called him the Bruce Lee of BS.
The Bruce Lee of BS.
Deposition Dion.
Yep.
The Dion Kool-Aid.
Yep.
And just the general circuit. Also the false prophet, that was used as well.
Dion Kool-Aid's been used by almost everybody in America.
It has to a certain extent. So he asked, why am I no longer allowed to ask questions? And they responded with, well, you've used the phrase Bruce Lee of BS, and so we are no longer going to allow you to ask questions.
Ah, yes.
Because that's the way we're going in American society.
I'll tell you very quickly because I want to get to this list. I'm not exaggerating here. So I took one sweatshirt because it always gets cold at different points, and you never know when rain's going to hit, right?
Oh, I saw it on the gram. I saw what you were wearing.
I'm just telling you, one of my more comfortable sweatshirts is my Prime Colorado white sweatshirt.
Do you believe now?
So I took it. And I'm not kidding you, man.
Get some dirty looks?
It solicited a lot of conversation.
I bet.
I thought maybe a person would say something.
Hey, go Colorado.
I think I lost track of how many go Buffs, and then also talking to slightly older people, and they were like, my daughter goes to Colorado. My son's at Colorado. And a gal stopped me, and she goes, go Buffs. She went to the beach. She goes, go Buffs, hell yeah. And I was like, well, I'm actually an Oregon State alum. I'm more wearing this out of irony. It's, it was funny. It was a big deal. And she just started laughing. She goes, was that an expensive form of irony? And I was like, it's $30.
That's a great question.
Which it was. That was a valid question.
Appreciate it.
And I go, I just love the way that it's going. It's hilarious to me because it doesn't look good. And she goes, well, yeah, none of us think it's going to go well, but everybody's talking about us.
Everybody's on board.
And that was kind of the general sense was they all know what this is. They have the same thoughts as us.
If you have a brain, you know how this is going to end.
But, man, how much talk is Colorado getting right now? So like, hell yeah, we're on the TV.
I do know this. So when I was younger, I used to love whenever I would go somewhere, I'd get something random sports related from wherever I was for a million different teams that I never rooted for. Like, I had a South Carolina polo for years because my brother lived in North Carolina. We'd visit, be like, it's kind of funny. I got a Clemson hat. I have no animosity towards the programs, but I'm not a fan.
Right.
The funny part is you would wear those things and then get comments wherever you would go. And hey, go, like somebody random would always identify it and give you a go Clemson or a go this team or go that team. And after years of fighting against it the way that you did, I ended up ultimately just leaning into it. When I would wear a random team and somebody would drop a go whoever, I would respond with hell yeah, like I was a fan of the team. This person has no clue who I am. I'm never going to see this person again, and I'm going to play in this fairy tale land like I'm a South Carolina grad from 1997.
I also forgot to tell you, I met some listeners out on the Hood to Coast.
Hell yeah, dude. I had a listener come say what up. Shout out to P1 Corndog who came say what up to me at the Mariner game.
Oh, really?
He texted in and asked what section I was going to be sitting in. I told him, and he came down and said what up, and it was great to meet him.
The one thing, though, and I do the same thing, so this isn't a criticism. Sometimes people will say, like, hey, love the show, and we'll talk a little bit, and then I walk away and I go, I don't think we exchanged.
I don't know your name.
I didn't know his name.
What's your name, man?
So there were a couple listeners that I got to meet along the Hood to Coast journey that were, they came up and gave some love, and we always appreciate that.
Love to hear that.
Team talent composite lists.
Yes.
Okay, so this is football's most talented teams in 2024 according to the 24/7 metrics.
Yes.
Star rankings.
Star rankings.
Number 1 is no surprise, Alabama.
I am shocked.
Number 2 is no surprise, Georgia.
I am shocked.
Number 3,
Ohio State.
Buckeyes. Texas is number 4, and this is where it starts to get a little interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They say, according to this list, Clemson is number 5.
I mean, I think it's important to remember
Clemson?
As much fun as we have made of Dabo.
So this should be a very good game, not a 2-touchdown spread as a Vegas.
That's what they're telling us. That's what the talent composites are telling us.
Okay.
Now, these are not always accurate.
Okay.
Oregon had a talent composite roster better than Washington last year.
Mm-hmm.
How did that go? They lost both times they played them, right? So
fair point.
It's not always just the star rankings next to your name. But I think it is important to remember that Clemson, despite their lack of interest in using the transfer portal, which will maybe be their ultimate downfall, they're still a top 10 recruiter in the country. Every year. Go back and look at their last 4 recruiting classes, and I guarantee you all of them, if not 10 or 11, are inside the top 10. So they recruit at one of the highest levels in the country consistently. He's just unwilling to add the piece here or there that he needs to fill out the weaknesses of the rest of his roster that's likely keeping him from winning the biggest games that matter.
You're telling me Dabo makes good ice cream, but he's just like, we don't do whipped cream and cherries here.
Exactly. It's a good base. It's nice, but you're not getting a sundae out of this.
Oregon is 6, A&M 7.
Nobody's giving us a chance.
I actually really like A&M to win this weekend.
Oh, you're a buyer on A&M now.
Just this weekend.
Oh,
I like Elko. Elko's a good coach. I think we can agree on that.
Connor Wegman is a good quarterback when healthy.
I'm not saying that like I'm going into the cult here. I just a little uncertain about what Notre Dame is. There's intel out of Notre Dame because I've been doing my college football research.
Yeah, what are they saying about the Irish?
Offensive line's looking a little suspect. They just lost a guy for the season.
They did.
So it's like, is the replacement going to be good enough? I know Riley Leonard's got some excitement for people, but okay, now expectations are here.
We got coach against his old quarterback in
this game.
He
knows the weaknesses. Hey, let's blitz the hell out of this kid from the right side. I like A&M. Oklahoma 8, LSU 9, and the Fighting Irish are 10. the back end of this, Mario's at 14. Florida State just lost.
I was surprised in Mario's, to be honest with you. That one was surprising to me.
He's recruited pretty well. I know.
I'm saying I'm surprised he's not higher based on the way he's recruited, because they have done they had the number 4 ranked class in the country, I want to say, last year. He has done, that's the one area that he will always succeed in and hit the portal. And so I was surprised that their composite ranking wasn't higher than that.
I know Oregon fan likes to sometimes dunk on Mario of like, hey, we're better recruiting now without you. It's kind of weird. We didn't all expect that.
Mm-hmm.
It is crazy to put this in context. I know Oregon dabbles pretty hard in the portal as well as Miami does.
Yes.
To look at Oregon at 6 and Mario be at 14, knowing Mario's done a really good job at Miami with recruiting, I mean, that just kind of reminds you how much better Dan Lanning has been, because they're in the same time frame here.
Well, and that was again, it's not a weakness for him. Like, it's one thing if you're struggling or if you're Dabo that's not willing to address a transfer portal, it makes sense to be a little bit further down the list. But for Miami to be that far down, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I think the only question about Miami this year is he going to get out of his own way? Is he going to allow an offensive coordinator to have full reins? Is he going to take a knee late in the game when they have the lead and not fumble it away and find a way to lose and snatch a victory from the jaws of defeat? Like, that to me is I don't have any questions about the talent that is on Miami's roster. They are loaded this year.
Well, it kind of led me to do something on a Monday that I normally would hold for like a Thursday or a Friday show, but I'm too antsy. When I got back from Hood to Coast, aside from the pain, I'm like, football season.
I am so excited, dude.
I'm locked in, and you mentioned Miami. They've got a massive game this weekend.
Massive.
And I was wondering this on a Monday going into week 1, because we just had week 0, we had the upset. We can go through the schedule of the biggest games, because let's just call a spade, okay? I'm curious to see what my beefs are going to be, even though it's Idaho State. I want to see what the offense looks like, who's the quarterback, how, I expect them to win. They better.
For the love of God.
Holy crap if you lose.
This win.
And I expect Oregon to win 63-7 the way they did against Portland State. And I probably shouldn't have to watch the second half of that game, and I'll allow you, the psycho, to
will tell you how Dante Moore looks.
No, you'll tell me how Austin Novosad looks.
How Austin Novosad looks in the fourth quarter.
Right?
I'll fill in the cracks for you.
I'll let you do that, okay? I want to go through the list and say what teams have an ability to shock us this weekend if they win week 1 tilts. And I'll start with Miami and Florida, because everybody's pointed to Florida's schedule and said, good luck, Billy Napier, you're getting fired. And Mario's got like ACC's open. You've got talent here. You're in the top 15. This is your year. You got the quarterback. You got the running back. Everything is designed for you to win this conference now. And I think they're the second favorite behind Clemson. But people don't trust Clemson anymore because they won't portal. So I'll start with that one. Like, what does it mean if Miami loses in week 1 and Florida wins?
It'd be hilarious, first off.
It would be hilarious.
It would allow me to laugh, and I always enjoy laughing at the misery of others, and laughing at the misery of a Miami fan brings me joy and happiness in life and makes me feel complete. So at first, it would make me laugh. Second, I think it would make us readjust maybe what Florida can do against that tough schedule, and it's not going to be maybe a 6-6 year. I mean, you win that game, you got a chance to go into that final stretch, which is ridiculously challenging, and have a serviceable year. Maybe Billy Napier doesn't get fired. Like, that's how important that game is, and vice versa. If you're Miami and you look at it, they're a favorite on the road in Gainesville, and if you can't win that game, I think it just sets you up for another year of, oh God, what is in store for us? Are we still not going to realize all the potential of the talent on that roster? I think the other candidates, though, one of them is a game that I'm not going to predict that there will be an upset, but because of what we're talking about in this segment of composite talent rankings, Clemson given a run to Georgia would, I think, open a lot of people's eyes of, oh, there's Dabo. Maybe he's not dead yet. Maybe he still is fighting. He's a trendy pick right now to win the ACC, especially with Florida State losing this weekend. Again, I'm not picking that upset. That's one, though, that would definitely turn our attention.
Can I interrupt you real quick? Does 7-5 keep Napier there?
If I were them, I would consider it. Considering their schedule and how they lose those games and who they lose to, I would consider it.
He doesn't. So I just looked at this. I was curious. I didn't follow it. He's not a good recruiter.
No, he has had classes that have fallen apart close to signing day the last couple of years.
They're 24th. They're behind Rutgers in Maryland right now.
Now, he did sign the number 1 recruit in the country, or the number 1 quarter, DJ Lagway, I believe.
There's a 5-star. He had
number 1
5-star
quarterback
kid,
who was already in Gatorade commercials, which, by the way, brilliant on Florida's part. It put him immediately in a Gatorade commercial.
Well, but they also signed
Michael
Jaden
Jordan.
Rashada, and that didn't. that didn't land.
Well, he never
you
even
know?
made it there. Yeah,
That's
he
what
never
I'm
made it to
saying is
campus.
that they've done this before where they've gotten excited and then they didn't even
Very
get the
true.
kid.
They at least got this kid in a Gatorade commercial, so they got their claws in him because that's a big Florida thing.
I'm with you largely, though. If they can beat Miami, you kind of start – and that's the thing is week one, we just always want to overreact. Can they go 8-4? And 8-4 to me, I think Florida fan would maybe give him the one more season of like, okay, we'll see what you have. That was tough. Thank you. What year would this – is this his third year, Billy Napier?
I want to say third year. I think he was in the same cycle as Lanning.
So you'd go into year 4 – you probably exceeded expectation for many people.
I mean, that is the hardest schedule in the history of college football, and I don't even think that's controversial to say.
On paper, it certainly is.
Yes, year 3, 6-7 with a bowl loss, so 6-6, and then 5-7 last year.
So massive year for him, and if he can navigate it. I know where you were going. Let's do this on the other side.
Okay.
And then we'll get to Sean Keeler from the Denver Post. He's been banned by Dion Sanders. What does he think of it? And he covers the Broncos. So Bo Nix is going to start. So Sean Keeler at the ticker. We'll carry over the college football talk. Who can shock us or surprise us or make us feel differently about themselves after week 1 coming up this week? We'll get to that next on The Fan.
Oregon Ducks football is on The Fan.
Here's third down at the 17-yard line. Third
The Fan.
All right, we got to go a little early, just a smidge, because we got Sean Keeler coming up, Denver Post. He is the subject of a Dion boycott. Dion Sanders has a contract stipulation that if you badmouth him, Prime can choose to ignore you.
That's right.
You know, you play into the primetime game. This is what you get.
This is what happens.
They kind of get it going for us this week on Thursday. North Dakota State at Colorado.
I cannot wait for that game.
I'm taking North Dakota State plus the 9.5.
Thursday night, kind of a nice little night of football.
It's going to be nice to settle in.
Dare I say, you got that game, which we will all, I will hate watch Colorado all year this year, and I will laugh my ass off if they lose. Very excited for that game. On at the same time, North Carolina, Minnesota. Kind of a fun little under the radar.
We're rowing the boat on this show, dude.
Entertaining game. I hear we're all PJ Fleck fans now. It's in Minnesota, 5 o'clock on Fox. Excited for both of those.
I think, honestly, because, you know, the timing of Big Ten Media Day versus you booking a vacation a year out.
Yes, just wonderful timing.
I think you would have loved PJ Fleck.
He sells a good sell.
He was just fun.
He knows what he's doing.
Loose. He was, open on things. He's fun to talk to.
It was 2 notes on this. Funny that I met a listener at the Mariner game. I mentioned that. Shout out to P1 Corndog who came and said what up. But one of the funniest things that he told me was he said he's been listening since we moved, since we were afternoons and to the morning. Mm-hmm. And he said, like, 3 years ago, I didn't watch a second of college football, but I listen to you guys every day. And he's like, now I'm like hooked. He was like, I'm all in. I'm so excited for the year to start.
I love that.
So that was an awesome sell job. Another thing, and want to make sure to give props to my peeps at YouTube TV looking for that endorsement, that you have unlimited recording space on YouTube TV.
Isn't it amazing?
You can legitimately go in,
teams.
and I did this. I set every college football game to record.
Yeah.
Every single one. Now, will I watch all of them? No. I am going to record every single game this year.
I did the Oregon State, Washington State games because they let you go team and conferences, so
I was going team by team, and I was like, this is stupid. Click NCAA football, and every single game will record.
But on the other side of this, I asked before the break, and you kind of dove into it, and that was my fault. But like this weekend, so here is our ranked matchups, okay? Because Oregon State play Idaho's. Clemson at Georgia. They are 2 touchdown underdogs.
Yes, they are.
They have the number 5 talent team composite. Like, I know Georgia's really good. Georgia may win the national championship. I mean, this is making me think like Clemson should be hanging with Georgia if you're telling me this is the talent composite. Now, coaching and portaling and quarterback play, like Garrett Riley, what is he with Cade Klubnik this year? I don't know, but
year 3 in a system together. Like, if you're not there now, you're never going to get there.
It just feels like such a massive year for Dabo, and I know winning 2 titles means everything, and they may do nothing about him, but if you refuse to portal, you just seem like you're too, I don't know, old school and not evolving with the game. That's what danger, starts to creep in. Mm-hmm. Number 8, Penn State is in Morgantown. West Virginia was better last year than people thought they were.
Yes, they were.
We talked about Miami at Florida. Notre Dame goes to Texas A&M, and LSU USC on Sunday. Yep. And USC is another team on this talent composite list in the top 20. So it's like, what team will surprise us this week where we go, all right, man, here we go. This team, this opinion, it's changing.
Outside of an outlandish upset, which could happen. It's college football. That's why we love the sport. You get random things that happen all the time. I think there's 2 games that I circle most. USC, LSU, I have no clue what to expect in that game. Who's the favorite? Who should win?
LSU minus 4.5.
You tell me that their defense still sucks and USC wins, I'm not surprised. You tell me USC can't stop a nosebleed and LSU slings it all over them, I have no clue what to expect in that game. I think they're very similar teams. I think the 2 that I would circle that would open people's eyes, you mentioned both of them. Penn State on the road at West Virginia. West Virginia is not a pushover. It's a tough place to go in and play. All this hype about Drew Aller came out last year. Here we go. Penn State's finally got their quarterback. He was disappointing in their big games. On the total of the year, he had an okay year. Disappointing in the games that mattered. This is a game, if you're Penn State, you got to win. You're a top 10 team in the country. You're going on the road to an unranked opponent. You got to win this game. You're nearly a 10-point favorite on the road in this game. So that's what, if Penn State loses on the road to West Virginia, not only does it make us again go LOL James Franklin, but also, hey, maybe West Virginia is one of those teams in a wide-open Big 12 race that can make some noise. And I think the other one is, people roll their eyes at it, but Texas A&M has put together talented rosters and recruiting classes many years in a row. A chunk of those guys have transferred out, but to the listing there that we just read in the last segment, this is still a talented roster with an upgraded head coach, I would argue, and a really good quarterback when healthy. They're a favorite over a top 10 team at home.
2.5.
And, against Notre Dame. And so I think if A&M wins that game, maybe you say, hey, Jimbo was clearly the problem. He was making $100 million and he gave up. They have the talent to beat basically anybody on their schedule. And for Notre Dame, if they win that game, they have a cakewalk run the rest of the season after Texas A&M.
I'm listing 6 games for you, just of like I put Colorado in it because there's always going to be interest, and we'll talk to Sean Keeler here in a second. It's crazy to say though, like West Virginia unranked, Florida, A&M, USC. The biggest upset by a point spread would be Clemson.
Yes.
Of all of those teams.
I mean, the beauty of the sport is that we nearly had what was likely going to be the biggest upset of the college football season on Saturday. The biggest upset point spread-wise all of last year was 26 points. That was the biggest upset we saw all year. Nevada was a 28-point underdog to SMU.
They just choked that.
Who, even the dirty poll included, praised SMU. They're high on the ponies this year. The ponies are in the
Preston
ACC.
Stone.
And they damn near that was almost the biggest upset of the year. They were a 28-point underdog at home.
Let's carry this over. What's it like to be boycotted by a college football coach at a major program? And Bo Nix is starting. We'll talk with the guy behind the story. Sean Keeler has been boycotted by Dion. He joins us for the Daily Ticker coming up next. But first, Schultze with Sports Update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on the Fan, Keegan Bradley winning the BMW Championship with an even final round and a 12-under overall. He bested Ludwig Oberg, Adam Scott, and Sam Burns by just a stroke. His 7th PGA Tour victory ever moves him into 4th place in the FedEx Cup standings. And in the NFL, according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, the Rams allowing linebacker Ernest Jones to seek a trade after being unable to come to terms on an extension. And in baseball, the Mariners get the series win over the Giants 4-3, though the Astros double up the Baltimore Orioles 6-3. That means the Mariners still trail the AL West by 5.5 games. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schultze at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
This is the day of the big sale at your gift shop.
Welcome in.
So this isn't just a big day for your business. It's a big day for the network keeping it all connected. That is, if it can handle the pressure.
with the insiders that are covering the stories you've heard about and some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. It's amazing.
The Daily Ticker with Dirt and Sprague is poured by Pelican Brewing. Be ready for your next afternoon vacation with Beak Breaker Tropical. Pelican Brewing, born at the beach.
All right, Daily Ticker time here on a Monday, brought to you by Pelican Brewing. Visit pelicanbrewing.com for more details on locations, events, award-winning beers. Independently brewed since 1996, Pelican Brewing, born at the beach. Our guest today for the Daily Ticker is a man who has been in the news all weekend long for interesting reasons. Dion Sanders no longer taking questions from him, and we played his back and forth with Dion at their opening press conference a couple of weeks ago. Sean Keeler, columnist for the Denver Post, at Sean Keeler on Twitter. You can go give him a follow. Sean, good morning to you. What has it been like the last 72 hours kind of being in the eye of the storm? You're a quite talked about person right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I've heard from relatives I haven't heard from in years. And and by years, I mean decades, where they're like, one, you're still doing this? Like, there's still newspapers and you're still trying to do this? And how are you holding up? I mean, it's been a little bonkers, but, I signed up for it. And when you do, when you poke the bear, sometimes the bear and the cubs bite back.
Yeah, they do. I still get that reaction to family, too. Like, AM radio, huh? That's still a thing. Like, yeah.
We're still here. We're still here.
I want to ask, how off guard were you caught by all of this? Like, just, hey, Sean, no longer going to be talking to Prime anymore.
Not very. The news that came out Friday that then blew up and became one of the college football stories of the weekend, I didn't think there'd be an ESPN.com story with my name on it after a headline. That was new. That had been in the works for about 10 days, and they let us know privately, about 8 days earlier, give or take, 7. But it was in the works, and it was a matter of having them put something down in writing. As for their reasons, and they did, and I don't agree with those, and I think a lot of people who have looked at their reasoning agree with me that it's pretty subjective, to put it mildly.
Well, I think to that point, Sean, like my question, I guess, to them that I would ask you is like, how are you supposed to like cover this program? Because I think a lot of the things that you're bringing up are things that I agree. I don't take him very seriously as a head coach. Like, he's unwilling to recruit. He's unwilling to do in-home visits. It's a lot of pomp and circumstance, but I don't really try. Like, I don't think he's there for the long haul, and I don't think he's doing things the right way to actually build a program, and it's a lot of kind of attention seeking. If they get off to a bad start, are you not allowed to ask critical questions? Or are you not allowed to ask, hey, what's wrong with your offensive line? Like, where's the limit on being critical, or where's the line, I guess, on being critical or not being critical? It's kind of a weird position for a reporter to be in.
Yeah, and as a columnist, you're paid to give your opinion.
Yeah.
I think that's the part that I sort of struggle with all this. Like, your feelings are hurt, and I get that, and you take them as personal affronts. I get that, but you're also a head coach who walked in on day one in his program and sat 50, 60 kids who were here from, granted, not a very good football team, but a lot of them were also very, very young, and said, because I wrote it down, you were soft, mediocre, and the disappointment to your family and to the fans, everyone here. That's on tape. Like, we all can tape that. I just taped it again because you're making me tape it again when you do stuff like this. Yeah. It's tough because, look, any subject we deal with, look, anything in life, we're not perfect. We're all hypocrites. We can't help it. It's called being human. But when your brand is moral absolutism and everything that you do is right, when you slash out against the media, not just me, you guys saw that press conference from 2 weeks ago,
mm-hmm.
When you are giving friendly fire just because you can, what does that say about you on that stage? And it says you're not ready for this. You didn't realize the depth of what you signed up for, and he's finding out. And I think some of that frustration is coming to a core. And look, I didn't want them to lose. I don't dislike Dion Sanders. None of this is personal. To answer his question, I wouldn't come if I disliked him. Mm-hmm. But it's my job. Why? Why are you like this? I'm a columnist, and it's my job, and you're the highest paid public employee in the state. You are going to be accountable to critics. Well, but your criticisms are personal. Yours haven't been to anyone? What are we doing here? So that would have been a better response on site, but my boss has said, no, not there. Pull the ripcord. And by the way, I'd be happy to discuss these very points in private. We have offered. CU has not returned our offers to do that. Colorado and Dion's team have not returned our messages to do that, and their only response is what you saw on Friday.
Yeah. I ran an event this weekend up here, and I bought early last year when he was the talk of college. I bought a Prime Colorado sweatshirt. I'm not a Colorado fan. I just thought it was funny, and it was bothering people.
He believes now.
I believe now. I started eating almonds, So I did it, and now I wear it because it's comfortable. And I was surprised how many Colorado fans stopped me and were like, my daughter goes here, my son goes here. Oh, I'm an alum. Go Buffs. And almost every one of them to a person was just laughing like, oh, yeah, it's not going to end well, but everybody's talking about it. It's like they're just happy they're being talked about, and they don't really think that there's really anything to this. How are the people at the university, you think, feeling behind the scenes going into just year 2 with not only this, but the recruiting woes and being in last place in the Pac-12 last year and changing the staff completely and changing an entire offensive line? How is that university, do you think, behind the scenes feeling about all of this?
I think behind closed doors, they said what a lot of CU fans said to your face. I think that's a very smart take. And by the way, I've met the head of the Buff Club in Portland, and this is a super smart guy, super nice guy, Wisconsin guy. I'm from Iowa. It's a long story. No, super good guy. So they do get it. It's just oh, we exist again. This is, but the trick is that they also know is, to your point of your sweatshirt, what do you see on there? It's Prime 21. Mm-hmm. It's not Ralphie anymore. It's Dion. He's the new face / whatever. And that was going to be true anywhere he went, whether it was Rutgers or South Florida, what have you. They weren't bad, by the way. They almost hired Dion Sanders. I think they went to a bowl last year. Mm-hmm. I just think that's right.
Yeah.
I think behind closed doors, the results starting Thursday night against North Dakota State are going to have to show out for somebody who has talked the talk for 18 months and has to start putting it up. It's been all about this season. From day one, people told me privately, look, we're going to have to do a lot of, and this is true at a lot of places, we got to clean out, we got to clear out, we got to re-identify what we do. Now, it's not done to the degree that was done, and to the almost, I don't want to say schizophrenic, but just jarring ins and outs. But everybody runs out guys and brings their own guys. Not everybody changes half their staff and brings their staff in after 1 year. I think they want to see some steak, or the sizzle is going to burn. I think that tends to be the feeling behind closed doors, but they are making so much money. They want to ride this magic carpet out ride as long as they can, because it's been a marketing bonanza. It's been huge.
Yeah, I don't blame them at all for that. Last one for you, Sean. I know you got to go, and we appreciate the time here in Portland. I don't take it very seriously. I remember walking around on the sidelines at Autzen last year, and Terrell Owens was running drills with the wide receivers, and I'm like, he's not even a coach. How is this a real program? What is happening right now? You tell me he's gone in 6 months because his kid's gone and Travis Hunter's gone. I'm not shocked. Who knows? But how do you think it all ends?
I think that's the most likely scenario, but he's trying to publicly plant seeds out. He said it again Saturday. I'm in this for the long haul. I'm liking this college thing. Well, he likes it here because he's got a contract that says he can talk to whoever he wants, whenever he wants, and do whatever he wants. It's amazing. I want Dion Sanders lawyers. Can I get that? Can I find that?
If you can high step into an end zone, you eventually get to that point. Yes.
Yeah, I do. I can't high step out of bed. So it gets to be one of those things. But it's a remarkable deal. I think your odds are still pretty good about this era coming to an end December and January. We know the running joke is they'll make a bowl game and 40 guys won't play in it. The opt-outs will be whatever the world record are. But they do have that kind of talent. We make a joke of it, but there are dudes. This is one of the greatest kind of transfer portal teams ever in theory. And I guess we're going to find out if the coaching matches that. And I have my doubts, but I'm happy if they prove me wrong, and I will give them credit if they do.
Yeah.
Full credit to them if they do. This is an 8-9 win team. Dion, you rewrote the rules of college football. You have changed this forever. I promise you, and I promise readers in Denver, I will write that but I got to see it, and we'll see starting Thursday if we get it.
Can't wait for Thursday night. Sean Keeler, columnist of the Denver Post, at Sean Keeler on Twitter, the man who found himself in the eye of the storm this weekend. I'm sure you got hit up. We were one of those long-distance cousins. Hey, Sean, can you come on the show? Thanks for responding. Thanks for the time, man. We appreciate it.
You bet. Take care up there, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, there you go. Sean Keeler of the Denver Post. So for those who, we kind of set that up, and I'm sure you saw it in the news this weekend. We played his back and forth, Sean's, with Dion at their football media day press conference a couple of weeks ago.
He's the guy that was like, what happened to you?
What happened to you? Why are you this way? Why are you so negative?
I couldn't remember if that was him.
That was him, yeah.
Well, we should have been like, Sean, what happened to you, dude?
Yeah, he didn't fight back too much in that moment, but also I remember saying at the time when we played the clip of like, that's so much easier said than done than being in that room where Dion's coming at you and actually getting into a verbal altercation with the head football coach. That's not usually a good look, and I'm sure his employers wouldn't be happy about that, but he has written columns critical of Dion and his handling of the staff, his handling of the roster, his unserious nature in recruiting, his leaning in on the transfer portal and hoping for quick fixes. And he's used nicknames like the Bruce Lee of BS about Dion Sanders. And so Colorado got to the point where they said he is no longer allowed to ask questions. They will not give him the microphone and allow him to ask questions of Prime after games, after practices, and press conferences of any sort. And so he has been banned from communicating with college football, which has led to differing takes on each side of it, right? Some people say, well, if you're gonna name call and you're gonna demean and you're gonna only be critical, like who wants to face those kind of questions? You should have the ability to do that. When the other side says, what is this, an autocratic society where journalism isn't allowed anymore and free speech isn't allowed and you're gonna shut people out who are ever critical of your program? I tend to lean the latter there because I just be a man and take it. If you don't want to answer the question, don't answer the question. Just say next question or give them a one-word answer. I don't know for certain. I'm willing to gamble that the head coach at Oregon doesn't like a certain reporter who covers his program from a local newspaper. I watch a lot of press conferences. The guy asks ridiculous questions like he is an X's and O's guru, and it's nauseating for the other media members, and I'm sure Dan Lanning has the same reaction, but he doesn't ban him from asking questions. You could tell there's a little disdain there, but he's not shutting down his opportunity to talk, and we'll see how this all works out. All I know is you're going to do this a week before game one. You better not lose on Thursday night.
That's a big one. And he talked about the talent. I mean, they've got a lot of talent coming into that portal, but their coaching staff, there's 2 coaches returning. They just lost their special teams coach. Like, he didn't fire, but like he kind of demoted his offensive coordinator with like 3 games to go. That guy went and got a head gig.
He did.
He lost his D coordinator already, who was, people were ranting and raving about him. He came in.
He was an SEC, Alabama, Auburn guy.
He went back to the SEC. Yeah. And so I think the expectations, we all know they're there. It is the one thing I think about that sport specifically that I don't like. And I don't like that we, the media, and even the fans, because you see the fans on the match, yeah, screw the media. And I'm always like, do you realize what kind of coverage you get if you don't have outlets?
I mean, it's just sycophants. It's people who are always painting a rosy picture and nothing but positive reporting.
And maybe you're in on that because, we all love our biases and our own algorithm. But I don't have to like everybody in the media to say, like, we should all still be allowed to be there. And, if you get a little pushback, you're the highest paid state employee. You should have a little pressure on you, I think, if you fall into that category. So you can certainly point to things and say, well, come on, man. But also, to Sean's point, go talk to him. You're always talking about what a man and go be a man, grow up, be tough. Okay, Sean Keeler offered to talk to you off the record, face to face. Hey, I'm a columnist. Some of this is gimmicky headline stuff. I give an opinion. You can disagree with it or make a point against it.
Yeah.
But banning it's just a little bit ridiculous, and not every coach is doing that in college football, but you do see more secrecy and just the stingent nature of what coaches say or don't say in that sport. It's just always something that I haven't liked.
Yeah, it's like if you're a Mariner fan right now, do you want somebody writing columns about how good of a job the owner's doing? And how Jerry DiPoto has been a great general manager? Like, is that what you want to read as a fan? Or do you want to read somebody who's honest and critical of your shortcomings and your failings? Like,
but if the team's good and you're a little critical, then it's a problem. But when they're bad, it's okay.
Right.
It's a weird place to be.
And Colorado they got off to a 3-0 start last year and ended the season 1-8 after that. They won 1 conference game. And then I would argue not very good Pac-12. Like, Washington and Oregon were great. They didn't have to play Washington. They only played one of the two elite teams in the conference last year. Wasn't even that good of a year. Like, as a Blazer fan, I don't want somebody to report to me how great things are going. I have eyeballs. I can watch. I see that the last 3 years have been a disaster. I don't understand that desire for just positive messaging only when my eyes are lying, when my eyes aren't lying to me of what I'm seeing.
I mean, maybe Prime just thinks that because he's played in the big markets and he's, two sports star, baseball and football, and he's just Atlanta, Dallas, like he has literally taken questions from big media all his life. He's thinking that this is like New York City instead of Boulder, Colorado, and he's looking at this criticism like it's like the end-all, be-all, dying fan breath saying, you need to get everything done, and he just doesn't care, or, I mean, he maybe just doesn't know where he is right now.
No, but, like, we kind of know who he is, and you can certainly point to this incident and say, well, the media pundit was on the wrong side. I disagreed with the take. We saw what he did when the Braves won. How did Tim McCarver in the locker room go?
And Tim McCarver was critical of him, and he got a bucket of water on him.
And he threw a bucket of water on him in the locker room. And a lot of people in the moment, I was probably one of those because a kid, and I love Dion Sanders.
Yeah, Dion!
And he was a Brave. And it was just like, and I love seeing the two-sport thing, but you can disagree with the take. We've seen he's been this almost his entire life as an athlete and now as a coach.
At some point, at what point do you just grow thick skin and say his opinion doesn't matter? Don't let it affect you. Like, that should be your message to players. Don't read the outside noise. Don't listen to the outside noise. There's somebody that's critical of you. You got an issue with it. When you beat TCU last year, you stepped up to the podium and said, "Do you believe now?" That was your whole thing. Like, go prove him wrong. He's making fun of you as a head coach.
Yeah.
Go win 8 games this year and laugh in his face at the end of the season.
That'd be a big year.
You think he's going to be critical of you if you go 8-4 and
No.
you stick around and you start recruiting? Of course not. Like, shut him up. This whole like I don't like the way the Colorado's handled it. I think it sends a bad message for the university, and we'll see how it goes.
They're making so much money.
They are making a ton of money off of this, but
and they're being talked about.
Just like any other high, what happens?
Well, if he leaves,
there is a crash.
There is,
and there will be a crash for them back to reality when Dion leaves, which will happen.
Then you go get a real X's and O's. You go hire Will Stein.
You're back to you hired Carl Durrell.
I get it, but you go hire Will Stein. Like I'm just throwing a name, but like that's your response to this is we made money.
Now we go hire a legitimate coach.
Yes, and you're in a legitimate conference that's kind of open.
Yeah.
You're in the Denver Boulder area. Like, yeah, that's your response. We lost Dion. Go hire a real coach.
What do you think of this? What do you make of it, Dion, shutting down the questions from our guest there, Sean Keeler, 503-864-6326. That is the Vancouver Ford text line. A couple more thoughts on this and the opening weekend of college football. Back after this on The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Woo! Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainshomservices.com.
The ground is short. This could be 2, 1 at second. And a double play turn, and that'll be your ball game. The White Sox have lost 100 games before the start of September.
Yeah, there's NBC Sports Chicago. The Chicago White Sox are 31-100. They're going to be the worst team of all time.
Yeah, they're in that running, one of the quickest races to 100 losses in a season. What I will say is if you're going to tank, you might as well do it right. There's no question how bad they are, and they're clearly rebuilding, so good for them.
I think they've gone below tanking. This is
what's the level below tank?
Would they lose to a AAA team? Probably.
Are they submarining? Like, what do we go? What do we label that
I bet
as?
they couldn't beat Bama. Who's stinking it up report. The Chicago White Sox, brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Make your home services delightful. Let the pros tackle the projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. Three Mountains Home Services. That's threemountainshomservices.com.
How's your team?
month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com.
Hey, Crunch Time brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 a month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, online at crunch.com. Coming up top of the hour, we'll get to final preseason weekend thoughts. It is all wrapped up. Today is roster decision day, basically. Are you buying Drake May stock after his torching of the Commanders last night on Sunday Night Football?
I missed it, but I had to go back and watch clips. Collinsworth was having like an orgasm.
Dude, he was all over it, buddy. He was feeling hot.
He did look good. I was watching live doing the gambling show. He looked good.
I don't think the Commanders played anybody with a pulse.
No, they didn't.
So did Zach Wilson, though. So like I'm kind of struggling. I'm like, these really mediocre quarterbacks had great days. What does this mean?
Does Zach Wilson having a kick-ass preseason, I'm not trying to say it's the same level, but does it make you kind of just pump it a little bit on the Bo Nix stuff?
I mean, I'm not
or is
really.
It different?
I don't think I'm over pumping on Bo Nix.
I think Denver's pumping hard.
Denver's pumping hard. I'm not pumping hard. I'm just like, he's going to struggle. He's a rookie.
Denver's throbbing.
I have very realistic expectations, I think, for him. The other funny thing from the weekend was Jared Stidham saying he's a starting quarterback in the league.
I'm so sick of that.
Well, technically not. No,
technically,
Bo Nix is the starter.
You're not.
Dude making $5 million has had an opportunity a couple of different times, and he just continues.
You've thrown 8 touchdowns in 4 years.
I love listening to Chase Daniel and Diana Rossini's podcast because Daniel will just always admit from time to time how awesome it was. Oh, yeah, I made a lot of money.
Dude, the backup quarterback life is great, man.
So good.
Like, ride it out, Jared.
You can't do anything in the pocket. It's okay, Jared. No, but Sean Payton, what did he say after 16 throws in Bo Nix's pro day workout?
He knew.
He called the GM and he's like, this is our guy. So I'm not even sure Dirt and I are being so high on Bo Nix. I think it is the Denver feel of Bo Nix, and I'm pretty excited to watch.
Gotcha. I am too. We're doing a couple thoughts here. We're talking about Dion and his banning of our guest Sean Keeler from asking questions going forward. I thought this is a good point. Somebody said at the Vancouver Ford text line, I think that Colorado banning Sean from asking questions is actually acknowledgement that Sean has a point. If Sean was just being ridiculous, Colorado shouldn't let it bother them. That sometimes you do strike a chord of like, yeah, there's a little truth to what he's reporting, and that makes you a little more sensitive.
Shout out to the newspapers.
No, he's a bit of a fraud. Another one, he should take to heart the fact that nobody wants to hear anything that Dion says anymore. We know who he is. He's Willie Taggart, but whereas Taggart at least had 2 successful seasons at an FBS school. Somebody saying free agency does not work in excess. Dion will see that. They are. I think there's always been an interesting balance with him where he is so good for the sport. Like the entertainment factor, we're watching Colorado. I can't wait to watch Colorado, North Dakota State on Thursday.
Right.
I cannot wait to watch that game.
Imagine saying that 2 years ago.
I would never say that. He's so good for the sport. The eyeballs are there. The interest there. The intention is all there. But just, I think when you get away from that conversation into a real football conversation, that's where I lean more towards Sean. And just seeing how this all plays out is going to be fascinating for them because they're unquestionably benefiting from the enrollment, from the money, from the interest. Like Colorado is just, they are Scrooge McDuck right now, laughing,
yes, they
diving into a pit of gold coins,
yep.
And how this all works out for them in the long run. I'm really interested to see because they are bending over to anything Prime. Anything he wants to do, he can do. Anything he wants to say, he can say. Any rule he wants to make, he can make. They basically let him call all of his own shots, and I'm just curious to see how it works out for him long term. Big year for them.
It's not a good look, I think, for Dion. I mean, you remember the other thing in that press conference, the CBS Denver guy.
Not answering questions from CBS.
Because CBS had our friend David Cobb wrote an article for CBSSports.com, coach rankings in the Big 12, and Dion was near at the bottom.
Yeah.
And the local CBS guy got boycotted for that, basically.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, no, I'm not going to answer a question from you. I respect what you do. I always love I respect what you do, but yes. I won't answer your question.
It's not personal, but it is personal.
Because of an entity attached to your name. I always think that's a weird situation to be in. But, yeah, man, it's a fascinating team because I don't think they're that good.
Right.
And I have a hard time believing that this much turnover just succeeds. Maybe they go 6-6. I think if they make a bowl game, you're pretty happy with that.
Make a bowl game, it's a successful year. Even though you're going to have to replace everybody again next year, it's going to be the same thing all over again if he's still there.
But imagine if they win 4 games again.
Yeah, you go 5-7 in the Big 12 this year. You lose to North Dakota State or Nebraska right out of the gate.
This isn't a strong Big 12.
Nope, no, it is not, Bob. No, it is not. So Sean Keeler no longer asking questions. Dion, he has us all watching and all paying attention to Colorado football in a way that we have never done so far. What he has done again that he did last year successfully is put a giant target on his back. And again, Colorado has a massive target on their back, especially in those first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
We got a lot to get to in the final hour of the show. I want to get back into the Florida State stuff a little bit for those who missed that. In the opening hour, we talked about their loss to Georgia Tech and what it means for them. My Yellow Jackets off to a great start. Look at that, bleeding the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets
Actually,
to prominence.
Meant to give you a little credit. I feel like since you talked about them, there's a little vibe there with Georgia Tech being back.
One listener tweeted the show page over the weekend and said, Dirt's going to take credit for this, isn't he? You're damn right I'm going to take credit for this. I'm running a good program over here. What do you want from me? Final weekend of the preseason just happened in the NFL. Roster cuts are on the way. What do we make of this potential scenario in that league? It is a loaded final hour on a Monday. Don't go anywhere. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Hey, it's Sue.
Right here on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, live on YouTube. Hope you had a great weekend, everybody. Congrats to everybody who ran the Hood to Coast. Hope you're wearing your medals at work like my co-host is today.
I will be gaining 10 pounds this week.
Yeah, we're back on the sweet train.
Oh,
What's
dude.
our first fatty meal? What are you going with?
Well,
a medium pizza?
I still
you
haven't
dirty dog, you.
I have no. Actually, we did the family-sized cowboy last night.
Yeah, now we're talking. Now we're talking.
And then I had a fritter covered in Dutch and maple frosting this morning on the way in.
Yeah, brother.
I'm going to eat something very unhealthy when I get home. It's going to be great. It's going to be glorious.
It feels good, doesn't it, just to be fat every once in a while?
It does.
Deep down, I'm
Take a solid week of just doing nothing and eating fatty foods. It's the last week for my kids' vacation as well.
Yeah, school starts, what, tomorrow?
Tuesday.
Next
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
They get one more.
Portland Public's tomorrow.
Well, I know. I have a buddy. I dropped him off his stuff yesterday.
It's over.
And his kids go to Westview.
Summer's over.
And they're starting tomorrow.
Shout out to, by the way, all the teachers that we're going to start seeing texts and responses. I always love those. Not love them. I hate losing listeners. But in June, we'll get random messages from teacher listeners.
Right.
Who are like, all right, guys, see you in September. I'm not waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm out. And then they start trickling back in. So welcome, everybody. Back. We have been here all summer. Welcome back to the fold. We're very excited for football season to be here. Can you make sense of why Drake May has not been named the starting quarterback of the New England Patriots yet?
So I talked about this last night on the gambling show, and the rumblings out of Boston, because my co-host is in Boston, she says the rumblings are that they're going to start Brissett week 1 and then give Drake May the start week 2 when they come back home because they're at Cincinnati week 1. And I went on a big rant of like, this is the dumbest thing.
What are we doing?
Why? Why would we do this? Like, have you looked at Washington's quarterback room?
No, I don't know who's behind
Commanders?
him. I have no clue.
It's Mariota.
Oh, that's right.
Do you know who's after him?
They actually did. I saw a press conference the other day. Thanks for reminding me that they were crediting Mariota for his leadership and mentorship of Jaden Daniels.
Marcus knows this is over.
Yes.
He's going to live the backup life until he doesn't want to do this anymore and then go be a king in the island. Like, kudos to him and be a Duck legend.
Collect paychecks as long as he can.
Right. After him, it's like Jake Driscoll or Jeff Driscoll.
Number one recruit.
And so it's like they have one of the worst. Are they dabbling in starting Marcus Mariota? Are Marcus Mariota and Jacoby Brissett really that different?
No.
I mean, honestly.
I would argue maybe Mariota's even better than Jacoby Brissett.
We're splitting hairs either way.
Well, but they have a
Still a
Heisman
homer.
Trophy
I'll always
winner.
be a homer there, and I'm going to get he's better.
Why would you? They wouldn't. They're not starting anybody in week 1 to start Daniels week 2. No. It's dumb. I don't get what New England's doing. And everybody's like, New England, they're restarting the culture. Who did Gerard Mayo play for? Yeah. When something happens in a moment that Gerard was in as a player, who's he going to think of and what they did?
Yeah.
Like, I find what New England's doing now just weird. I'm rooting for Drake May. I root for mainly all the rookies. I don't want to see him do bad.
No.
He looked good last night. How do you watch last night and go, yeah, let's start Jacoby Brissett? He made like 4 plays that Jacoby Brissett could never make. And so I don't get it. It's the dumbest thing they're doing. Start him week 1. Let him get his teeth kicked in a little bit in Cincinnati, and then let him come in and have his home debut.
Maybe he wins the game. The NFL's wacky. We have no clue. Maybe he outplays our expectations.
Cincinnati starts slow sometimes.
Yes, they did last year. Speaking of which, of your BetQL show, did Lucy Burge acknowledge her public beef that was going on?
So another thing.
She's in a walking bets beef right now.
Well, I didn't know about this because I left to the mountain at the butt crack of dawn. This happened Friday.
This went viral. So for those who don't know, Sprague does a show on BetQL every Sunday, Back to the Futures, and his co-host Lucy Birch, who we've had on the show before.
Yes,
she's a friend of the program.
Friend of the program.
She is a very hot commodity on social media because she will do videos where she gives out gambling bets for the day.
Yes,
and she does them. She films herself walking, and she shows her outfit, and she does. Here are my 4 or 5 bets of the day.
Right.
And there's some other gal who is stealing her thunder of walking bets, a barstool gal or something, and she's filming herself, and this has now become a beef of she's stealing my content. And it's a very serious thing.
So she says she knew about it for a long time because I said, "How was your weekend?" So this. I was the New York Post Fridays. That was weird, and I stopped her and I went, "What?
Excuse me, what?
You were New York Post? What'd you do?" And she goes, "Oh, it's a walking bets thing." And so she didn't really elaborate. I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." She got a shout out for her walking bet video because she gets a lot of traction on those.
Yes, she does.
For obvious reasons.
Yes.
And she's always been honest about that. And then I looked into it during our first commercial break, and I went, I had no idea this was a beef.
Yeah.
And she basically said that, yeah, I've known this gal. She's been doing this. She basically pitched the idea after she saw me do it to Barstool to hire her. And she's been called out for it. And Lucy finally responded to it. And then that girl did like a crying video.
She did. Very emotional video about
And
public attacks.
It got a lot of traction to the point where the Odyssey bigwigs were like, we agree with your point. Let's just let it go. Let's bury it. Let's move on.
Really? They made her bury the hatchet, huh?
You know, and yeah.
Okay.
Nobody told me this, so I teed it up and talked about it for a decent chunk of the show.
Oh, there you go. I was out of the memo on that one. Sorry, I was halfway over the Coast Range this weekend when all this news was breaking. I saw this beef lead up over the weekend, and I have now contemplated when I go home and take Teddy Ballgame for a walk around the neighborhood after the show, which I always do. Get him outside, a little fresh air, take the dog for a walk.
Yeah.
I'm contemplating taking my shirt off on those walks and doing walking bet videos in an homage to Lucy Burr. I'll tag her on the video. I mean, she's got to be tagged here.
Chest hair of the day.
Chest hair of the day. Check out my pubes right here in between my nips. And I like Georgia Tech plus 10.5. What do you want from me?
You know what? You should do a college football only one.
College football only picks?
I'm going to put this as a poll question. Should Dirt do the Lucy Bird's walking bet shirtless to show his chest hair of the day and give his college picks?
Do you want my man chest on your socials?
I don't know. You shouldn't steal that either, buddy.
Well, I'm doing it. I will make sure to credit her for the brilliant idea.
I gotcha.
And I don't think men will be drooling in my mentions the way that they drool in her mentions for her walking.
Maybe the females will.
Maybe the ladies out there. The ladies.
No, to Lucy's credit, she's been doing this for quite a while.
Oh, she
obviously, gained a following a while ago and has just been killing it.
Also acknowledges when she misses. She'll like recap her video
every day.
Lost 4 of the 5.
0 for 4 or 3 for 4 or whatever. Yeah,
you love to hear from the people that are giving picks, like the honesty is like, all right, I suck some days just like y'all. But like I feel like since social media has now kind of leaned into sports betting in the past few years, we've seen more of these competitors, not just like dudes, but like hot ladies trying to like rise up. It's not OnlyFans anymore for some of these girls. It's like, I'm going to be the hot sports betting pick girl, and I see them constantly just like flooded into my feed now, and I'm like, oh my God, everybody thinks they have a take. Guess what?
Hey,
you don't.
Well, everybody can have a take, and I'll tell you, I don't know how many people in your life give you a pick and then like sway or dictate you making the same pick. I'm largely usually firm in, I'll be right.
I trust my opinion. Right. I don't listen to any gambling advice.
And if you're going to be attractive and do it, I mean, it's no different than I'm not going to listen to most of the guys who give the picks. I'll listen to the logic.
Yeah.
May question a little bit. I'm ultimately not going to change my stance on things because I like to die on hills.
Yes.
So if you're attractive, you do it. All the better. Cool.
I enjoy the content. We were famously in Vegas moons ago with our buddy Kevin Todd, and he and his other sharps gave us the winners for the 2 AFC NFC title games, and I bet against them.
I took one of them.
And I went 0 for 2. That was fun. That didn't work.
The one I took helped kind of even things out from the weekend in Vegas.
Back to the original point, Gerard Mayo said this morning on WEEI, saying this is a true competition. And I would say at this current point, Drake has outplayed Jacoby.
Yeah.
Now, in saying that, we have to take a look in the full body of work, going all the way back to spring and the beginning of training camp, and we'll see where we end up. But those are conversations that will happen over the next couple of days. This just feels like, to me, the ultimate. It's the same thing we were kind of going through in Denver. Somebody texted him. Where did this go? Let me find it. The problem with starting Drake May in week 1 is the Patriots' offensive line sucks. What if they Marcus Mariota him like the Titans did with their terrible offensive structure?
Week 2 is not going to change.
It's not going to change.
They're going to start week 2. So what's the difference?
So we're just not going to play him at all because the offensive line sucks. Like, you got to see what you got here. Unfortunately, I just don't think we're in a position, and I firmly believe this now. I didn't used to argue it, but I think you get a benefit of playing these guys. And if you found somebody, you will see highlights, you will see moments, you will see drives, you will see quarters or halves or whatever the case that leads you to believe, okay, we feel like we got our guy. Now, it's not going to be perfect. He's going to suck. They might be the worst team in the NFL this year, man. They got the best odds or one of the best odds to have the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft next season. But you at least give yourself an opportunity to grow with the quarterback, see what you have in him, and that offensive line problem's not going to change. They're drafting in the top 5 for a reason. It's because they suck.
Yeah.
And just because you suck, you're just going to sit them for an entire year. I don't agree with that philosophy at all, and I don't see the difference in playing him in week 2 as opposed to week 1. That makes no sense to me. I know Jacoby Brissett sucks. I've seen him play. He's not a good starting quarterback in the NFL, similar to what was going on in Denver with Jarrett Stidham. Like, no offense, Jarrett Stidham, you're a career backup. Bo Nix was drafted in the top 12 for a reason, to be the starting quarterback. The same thing goes with Drake May. I don't like the way they're handling
the
this.
wild thing is you point to, like, Jordan Love came on. He had, like, the greatest 8 weeks to end the year of any other quarterback in the NFL. Mahomes, obviously, is putting himself in a legendary category. We can point to these guys and say, this is the argument against what you just said, right? what's crazy is you just go Mahomes. This is year what for Mahomes? Is it 4? It's 5, right? Or is it 6?
It might even be 6.
Okay, so he's in the 5 to 6 year of his career range. In just that span, how different is it with the salary cap implications of these contracts?
Yeah.
The Niners are dealing with this. They had Trent Williams to pay and Brandon Ayuk. Purdy's got to get paid next year. They're going to give him that contract, and I think it's going to kick in the year after. Like, these are massive decisions. It's hard to waste a year. And so just even when Mahomes got in the league to this point, it's only a handful of years. Look how different it is.
Yeah.
You got to know now. If he sits the entire year one because you're not ready to protect him, that sounds like gross mismanagement of an organization, to be honest with you, because you need to capitalize as much as you can on their rookie asset. I feel bad for Bryce Young. I do. I don't particularly believe in him. I don't buy quarterbacks of that size to win at a high level. But Carolina did him no favors. And so, like, if you know you're going to be in a quarterback spot, you need to do what you can to protect the asset to the point where if he's not good, it's solely because he can't read defense or he's making bad throws or whatever. Not like, hey, his offensive line literally can't block for him. That's the tough part. You go rookie quarterback, you want to see what you have quickly. It's why people criticize the Penix pick so damn much.
Right, because he's older to begin with, and you're going to make him sit for maybe 2 years.
Maybe 2 years if Kirker stays healthy. So I just, it's crazy just in how short a span we've gone from, oh yeah, Patrick Mahomes is sitting for the year because they have Alex Smith, where it's like, no, we need to know now. We have 2 years to find out if this guy's it, because then we need to see what we're at financially to start structuring that future contract.
Talk about having quarterbacks sit, too. There's another guy in the news this weekend that I will talk about next as we kind of, some final thoughts on the last weekend of preseason football. It sounds like maybe we're going to get some action today on some of these storylines that won't go anywhere. So a couple of lingering NFL thoughts next, and we'll dive back into Florida State's season ending with a bit of a dud in the opener over in Dublin. We'll get back to that in the bottom hour of the show. Some more NFL talk next on The Fan.
It's time for a sports injury report. The injuries and rehab that impact the success of sports teams. Brought to you by Rock Orthopedic.
Justin Turner against Robbie Ray, and the count quickly goes to 0-2. Turner hit a line drive to shortstop into a double play, but now something happened with Robbie Ray, and here comes Bob Melvin and Dave Gresham, the Giants trainer.
Yeah, that's John Miller calling the game. My team sucks. And on top of that, Robbie Ray got hurt against his old team this weekend. They were up in Seattle. They lost 2 out of 3. And Robbie Ray, another starting pitcher that's out for the year. And they have been done all year, but now they're officially done.
It's bad news. They're done. They're cooked. God, I love John Miller's voice.
He's so good. So good, man.
It's one of the best in sports.
Yeah. I at least give him credit. They got me to football season. Football season's here. I don't know. Baseball's over.
And they won the game you were at.
Good luck to the postseason, whoever wins it. Sports Injury Report presented by Rock Orthopedic, board-certified specialists who diagnose and treat the widest range of orthopedic cases with care and expertise. To schedule an appointment with Dr. James Ballard, visit rocpdx.com.
A home for the Beavs and Cougs?
For Oregon State and Washington State looking for some sort of lifeline and really not getting anything. This is even the first rumor from someone who has been correct a bunch that there is an entity, ESPN, that is fighting for you.
The Pac-2 could be power conference teams again.
How does Oregon State and Washington State wiggle their way into that? Something to claim a conference.
Talk about it and get the inside story from Portland's sports leader, 1080, The Fan.
Now, here's a quick look at Portland traffic.
Southbound 5 slow from Marine Drive as you head down towards the Moda Center. Northbound 5 slow through the Terwilliger curves because of an earlier crash. Westbound Banfield sluggish from 205 to I-5. That's traffic. I'm David Bruce.
This traffic report brought to you by
Robert Half.
9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. Our recruiting professionals utilize an award-winning AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com/talent today.
It's not even that far.
I know my body. I can drive.
There's no traffic, so there's no danger.
It's easy to find excuses for driving impaired. That's because when you're impaired, your judgment is too.
Fan.
A fun question to ponder. We'll get to that. Florida State, rough weekend in Dublin. That was a hilarious way to start the year. The people are speaking. They want shirtless dirt walking bets.
Okay.
Also, shirtless dirt driving range. Dirt sporanic is getting mentioned.
Dirt.
You know, our up tops, we got big
Unbutton that last button.
Oh, I'll show it off.
Give him a little tease right now. You're on the camera.
Bring gas.
Only dirts.
Don't tease me with a good time. You see what your boy Trey Lance did this weekend?
Yeah, I saw that 5 picks.
Talk about sitting a guy and waiting. Let's
but he's the next guy.
Give Jimmy Garoppolo a little bit of time here, and then Trey Lance will be ready. Remember, this was like legitimately a debate in Niner media a year ago. Legitimately an argument, should they start Trey Lance or should they start Brock Purdy, and are they giving Trey Lance a fair shot?
Well, I'd be honest with you if I wasn't saying I was probably in that before they traded him, because I'm like, what do? You traded up for number 3, you got him, like you need to see it, but
you got to pivot at some point, and at least credit to them a pivoting of he threw 5 interceptions in a preseason game.
Yeah.
Against backups of the Chargers. He threw 5 interceptions.
He should be cut.
He had a Nathan Peterman +1.
They played the Chargers again?
They did. Did they play the Chargers?
Oh, no, they played the Rams.
Rams last time. They did a little double L.A. entendre, if you will.
Yeah, he is. He's going to be out of the NFL in like 2 years.
How much do you think Dak Prescott's agent was laughing about this?
Pretty hard. Pretty hard.
Yeah, you want to hold out? Yeah, you don't want to pay our guy? Okay, here you go.
It's so weird, man. Like how you hit on these guys. Josh Allen's numbers in college to what he is now.
I know.
How do you make sense of it?
I know. We're going through it now with Anthony Richardson because you were out on Friday, but we talked a little bit about that Friday because he had a rough showing Thursday night through a bad pick 6. And that was the kind of comp there was Josh Allen and Anthony Richardson because their completion percentages were so low in college that it's like, how could this translate? And you hear that a lot about Anthony Richardson. The pro argument is, well, Josh Allen completed like 47% of his passes at Wyoming. He was not good, but he has turned into one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL.
The other thing is, did you see the Richardson? They do these like inter squad scrimmage practices, and so they play the team in the practice that they're going to play in the preseason game, and so it's the Bengals.
They were talking a lot.
Evidently, the Bengals were just chirping at him the whole time. He can't throw. He can't read a defense. And if you're a Colts fan, you're just sitting there going, I'm not nervous at all.
Kirk Herbstreit's floating the idea on the broadcast that it's a Joe Flacco, Anthony Richardson quarterback controversy.
It's not, though. Like that that felt a little lazy of old Herbs. Like, no, they're going to see what they have with Richardson unless he gets hurt, and then you will see Joe Flacco.
Has Brandon Ayuk become the new Brett Favre, the story that just won't go away? Now he's connected to Washington. They're evidently back in the mix.
Adam Peters.
What's that?
So Schrager's the one that threw this out there, and he's not really a big newsbreaker, but when he tweets something of note, it's
something to it.
He's hearing something, right?
Yeah.
Adam Peters is the GM of the Washington Commies. He worked for years. He came from San Francisco.
I think he was in San Francisco the last 7 years.
Assistant GM to John Lynch, and so
quarterback wide receiver relationship is there. They played together in college.
Yes, they were teammates at ASU, and so like there was a thing there, and then it went away, and now it might be back in the fold. A second and a third is what Schrags threw out.
But the Niners still want it. They still want a wide receiver in return. I know
and they should.
Ricky Pearsall is coming back. I think he's returning to practice today.
But he already hasn't stayed healthy.
But
they're just in camp. They have no Trent Williams. Like
they knew he had a shoulder injury coming out of college, and he has a shoulder injury with Terry McLaurin and a second-round pick. I mean, that does it for me.
Scary Terry in a second would, I think, be just fine. Ayuk is better than Scary Terry, but that would be a good trade-off. If you're Washington, why would you do that, though?
I mean, I don't get that, other than just maybe, I don't know what Terry McLaurin's contract situation is, and maybe they just they think Ayuk is the better fit there. But the ironic part about that is that they had Sam Howell at quarterback last year. Washington did.
Yeah.
They were not a good offensive team. Terry McLaurin had 1,000 receiving yards last year. He's a 1,000-yard receiver and a bad offense with a bad quarterback.
Well, that's why I'm saying is like, why would they do this?
Yeah,
they got rid of Dotson already. He went to Philly.
He did. That was a random trade last week for a third-round pick that made no sense.
This is just Ayuk's agent trying to spin. This is literally what the 10th different headline we've heard, and we're just reading agent tweets from Brandon Ayuk as headlines at this point. Basically, 3 weeks ago, we heard at the start that he was going to the Steelers.
That was a done deal.
Exactly. It was done. Now we're moving on. Oh, no, maybe LA team. No. Let's move on to somewhere else across the country. It's literally like a third of the league by the time this is going to be done.
Well,
it's ridiculous.
They should be a little nervous in San Francisco because there's still no Trent Williams. And so now you're sitting in a spot where it's like you may not have Ayuk, or if you do, it's going to be this relative last minute. We've
It's
got
gotta figure it out
NFL
today.
next week on Thursday. It starts.
They got to make their final cuts in the next 48 hours. I want to say this is cut down week. They got to decide who's on the roster.
And these guys are veterans, so you could say, well, it's all right. They'll be back in the fold. Okay, all right. But you're a little rusty. Takes you a while. The Niners, they need to figure out what's going on here. So I would just love to know if he ends up getting traded. And I hope he does a podcast and reveals this. What is the difference of money here? Are we talking 4 or 5 mil, or are we talking 1.5?
What are we down to at this point?
What's the number for San Francisco where I just want to know what this gap is. To have this be lingering and not just move on, send them to the place and get whatever, you get the best possible thing you can back. I'd like to know it because they got to pay Trent Williams.
You have to. That's a no-brainer. It's an unquestioned one. The Ayuk thing, I'm so tired of this story. Make it go away, man.
Well, we haven't talked about it on the show.
No, we haven't done a couple of weeks.
It's worthy. I like Brandon Ayuk. I don't think he's worthy of that much conversation.
This is not Justin Jefferson or Devontae Adams or Tyreek Hill. He's a good wide receiver. He's not to that level.
Well, and the Niners should be pretty excited if they can get Trent Williams back because their right guard, Puny, has just been lights out, one of the stars of the rookie class on the offensive line.
Yes, he has.
Our friend Baldy did a big video breakdown. I know Nemec was really high. He randomly mentioned him to me. I'm like, never heard of the guy. I'll start looking into him.
A random right guard. All right.
And sure enough, he was right. He hit it. So they've got encouraging things happening on their offensive line, but they have no left tackle right now.
No.
And they're missing their leading receiver from last year.
And I would argue offensive line is one of the biggest question marks about that team, to be honest with you.
It was going into the year, yeah.
We go into this thought because they've been so good for so long that their offensive line is dominant. That's really not the case. Trent Williams is dominant. The rest of the offensive line has not been very good the last couple of years. And so they've addressed right guard. You need Trent Williams back. Hopefully there's an answer on that at some point today, but the latest is that Washington might be making a play. I don't think anybody's surprised by this news, remembering how horrific it was, but just a reminder of a team that has kind of been circled as interesting year, and they're going to be out without one of their key players, at least for the start of it. Nick Chubb will begin the year in Cleveland on the physically unable to perform list. So for those who don't know, that's at least the first 4 games of the year until he can be brought off that list. So the hope is that he's back for week 5. Even that I would think would be aggressive. That is one of the grossest injuries that I can remember in a while. And it was in week 2 of last year, so we're almost at a calendar year from all the surgeries. I think it was at least 2 surgeries that he had to try and recover all that. But the Browns, who were hoping to get Deshaun Watson into the game this weekend, I don't believe he ended up playing. I was up in Seattle. It was kind of funny seeing all the fans line up for the game because the Mariner game ended and the Seahawks game started at 7, so it was very crowded down in that area around Safeco and Lumen Field or
Who
whatever
did they
it's
play?
called.
I missed the
It was the Browns. The Browns were there.
Brownies, gotcha.
So I don't know if Deshaun ended up playing. I don't think he did. They were hoping to get him snaps. He took 0 snaps in the preseason. They're going to throw him out there cold turkey in week 1, and they don't have their star running back who, not surprised, but still a reminder of how horrific that was. And you just hope he can, at some point, get back to being the Nick Chubb of old because he has really carried that organization for 3 years now.
They open their season, the Brownies do, against the Cowboys.
Ooh. What's the line in that game?
Amari versus his old team. It is Cleveland -2.5 according to ESPN.
Excuse me?
Am I gambling the Cowboys in week 1 of the NFL season? Is that what you're telling me?
There's going to be so many Cowboy fans at that game.
Is that what you're telling? Do I have to gamble? I don't want to do that.
I might even take the money line straight up.
But they also haven't paid their guys.
No, I know.
And their coach kind of sucks.
He does.
And their defense might be worse.
It might be.
They still got to show up to play, though.
Look, Deshaun Watson sucks.
He does, but Stefanski's good.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper's good. He had a good year last year.
That's why they wanted to trade him in the offseason.
Well, for Ayuk. And I think they refused to. I think that's why you didn't get a trade, because Amari Cooper will be a nice little trade out for Brandon Ayuk.
His reaction to that was the best, too, of dude, hell yes. I'll say, can we make this deal happen? Can I go play in San Francisco? I don't have to play with the Groper anymore. Get me out of here,
dude,
man.
What if Deshaun just has the worst day? They're panicking.
I mean, I think they should already be past the panicking.
Yeah.
I would have already given up. Anything positive would be the pleasant surprise. I would be mentally done. By the way, Mike Tomlin is still not named a starter in Pittsburgh. So
it'll be Russell Wilson.
It likely will be Russell Wilson.
Somehow had a takeaway that Russell Wilson, who went 2 for 2 for 26 yards,
he's the guy.
Showed him all the right things.
I saw everything I need to see. Right there, those 2 throws.
Are you shaking in your boots of our Pittsburgh Steeler bet?
Not yet. I'm not, because that organization makes no sense. I don't get it. They make no sense.
They're really well run, but
Mason Rudolph got them to the playoffs last year.
He's going to have a bad year as a coach.
You
have to have one.
Do you?
Yes.
Do you? Are you sure?
I
Are
believe.
you sure? I think Mike Tomlin sold his soul years ago to never have a losing record.
Be a hell of a thing if that guy sold it. He's got a big cross on his
He
chest.
does,
That'd be wow.
You really think he's going to do less with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields under center than Mitch Trubisky,
And
Mason Rudolph, and Kenny Pickett?
That's
Are
the
you
thing.
kidding me?
That's the
yes,
thing.
I do.
That's ridiculous. I'll bet you $100.
I'm already
right
on
now.
this. We're already on this bet.
$100
Sign
right
Schultz
now.
up, baby. Let's
wait,
go.
Wait, what's your bet?
Let's go,
I'm just curious
Joe.
what your-
that they'll finish over 500.
No.
this year. Okay,
My
what
bet
do
is playoffs. They're not making
Damn
the
it.
playoffs.
Nah,
See, I thought our bet was 500. They would be a 500 or worse team. I didn't know.
Okay, maybe that was.
I think that was our bet. I think it was play. I'm not guaranteeing a playoff
They
spot.
smell like 8 and 9.
I'm just telling you, 500. They're going to be 8-1.
I would bet you a bill right now.
They're going to have a 6-6
It's gonna be
tie.
with the Browns.
Russell Wilson can't get a first down. They missed some field goals late. There will be a 6-6 tie in there. They go 8-1.
9-8. I put it down. I'd bet you a bill right now.
I've already got another bet.
So, what is
Oh,
that?
not confident in your Mike Tomlin take? Are you quaking in your boots already? You're already questioning your own logic, man.
It might be Marcus Greaves. I'll make a bet with him.
All right, there you go. Some final preseason thoughts of the NFL weekend. We are now a week from Thursday away from the start of the NFL season. It is almost here. Would you want to hire this guy? And that's not a great way to start your year after an offseason of complaining. That is next for Sir Schultz with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the newly managed Seattle Mariners get the series win over the San Francisco Giants. A 4-3 final yesterday. Brian Wu, a nice 7-inning gem. He had 7 strikeouts. They'll move on to host a 3-game set with the Tampa Bay Rays starting tonight. The Houston Astros, though, did win in Baltimore, doubling up the Orioles 6-3. That keeps their lead at 5.5 games in the AL West with just 31 games left in the regular season. On to golf, Keegan Bradley winning the BMW Championship with an even final round to finish at 12 under overall. He bested Ludwig Oberg, Adam Scott, and Sam Burns by just a stroke. Marks his 7th PGA Tour victory and moves him into 4th place in the FedEx Cup standings. Some NFL notes. According to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, the LA Rams allowing linebacker Ernest Jones IV to seek a trade after being unable to come to terms on an extension. He had 145 tackles and 4.5 sacks last season. Zach Wilson successfully making the Denver Broncos 53-man roster as a backup quarterback after that 250-plus yard passing performance in the final game of the preseason. And the Miami Dolphins cutting quarterback Matt White after losing the competition for the backup job to Skylar Thompson. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
1080, The Fan.
We're already begrudgingly getting tied into obligations for football season. My wife's cousin's getting married on September 28th.
These fall weddings.
I will never forgive him for it because I believe, let me double check my math here. That is the day, scrolling. I think that Georgia and Alabama play.
Oh, that's a massive game.
How do I find top 25?
It's not good. If you think about what we're doing right now, it's actually pretty awful from the human experience that we're like, hey, the sports game's on. I don't want to,
Dude, I wait all year for this, man.
But it's your cousin's wedding.
This may be
it.
It is Georgia and Alabama play at 4:30.
First wedding?
So first wedding.
Well, it could be the last one.
So that ceremony's got to start at 5 o'clock, right? I mean, I don't know. I got the
hope
invitation
4 or 5
home.
o'clock.
It's going to start at 4 or 5 o'clock. Your game starts at 4:30.
No.
Like if you think I'm mentally there, I'm like,
you do a 1 o'clock service.
Georgia, Alabama,
1 o'clock
in Tuscaloosa.
Oh, here's the other beauty part.
Georgia's a 4.5-point favorite.
Guess who will have YouTube TV
exactly
on the table then?
I mean,
I just am shocked that any football fan would ever get married or agree. I get it. We all like getting laid, but it's like, honey, just block off the months of September through December. We are not getting married then, okay?
Are people getting married still to just
to get laid?
No,
That's
I'm not
the
saying
thing.
that, but I'm saying to continue the harmony in your relationship, agree to whatever marriage date that your wife would want.
I think I figured out something, and I'm onto something here with our generation, specifically our age range. I think we have started for some reason the men-women baby shower experience.
This is now a thing, and it needs
you did it
not be a thing.
And I participated in it as well. I don't know who or why, but I grew up, it was like the ladies hanging out with the ladies in the baby shower, and
guys would go do something or not do something and just go to a barn.
I don't think I was at my first kid's baby shower. I think it was my wife with all of the ladies and then the in-laws and all that.
Sure, friends, in-laws, that kind of thing.
The second one, a little hazy in my memory there, but I think it's our generation now because I got back from Hood to Coast.
Yeah.
And I've got a friend that's doing a joint baby shower and asking not only for the dads to be there, but all of the family.
Everybody there.
Kids and all of it. And I think it's our generation that started this.
Is he being mandated to do this, or does he want to do this? Is this an ask? Is this like a demand, like the wife saying you're going to be here and be involved in this? Or is this a, honey, let's do this together. I'd love to be a part of this.
I feel like I know him relatively well enough to say if she said it's just the ladies, he'd be cool with it, but he's definitely in on it.
He's definitely in on it.
Yeah.
On an NFL Sunday.
But he's not an NFL fan.
Yeah.
And that can be tough when you're friends with people who are not football fans in almost any way.
They just don't get it, man.
And I have way more of these in my life than you would care to guess.
Yeah.
Things get booked on Sundays, week 8. Pivotal matchup.
The Niners and Chiefs play that day.
It's a
I've already looked at the
game.
calendar. Niners and Chiefs, 125 on Fox.
Well, is that a 10 a.m. baby shower? Because baby showers shouldn't be longer than 2 hours.
That is true, but
so
is
I
it
could be home in time?
Do you do it at 10 a.m.? It's a little early, but you could go mimosas, go early in the morning, have that be the theme.
I might just do the YouTube TV on my phone and have it on the mute, but run over to see the action and...
See, if I were a sports fan and I had friends that were football fans, those are the only people that are going to come and show up. I would try to schedule it on a day that there isn't a big game or there's a bye week for the Ducks or Beavers. Why nobody checks the schedule? Oh, there's a concert going on. It's not just sporting events that control our lives. It's other things too.
Well, not really for me. It's all sporting events, especially in football season, man. I got a one-track mind right now. Speaking of which, would you want your school to hire Jimbo Fisher?
No.
He's already fishing.
No.
He did a hit. I don't know if this is on the show before. I guess Peter Burns is filling in. He's doing national radio now. And he was talking to Jimbo Fisher. And he said, quote, there's only so much hunting and fishing you could do before you want to get back into it. I'll be watching a lot of film this year and see if there is a right opportunity for me to get back into it next season. Jimbo Fisher, catch the
he'll land somewhere.
Somebody's going to hire
him.
Yeah. I mean, if Les Miles could coach at Kansas...
Guy got $100 million to not work anymore, and he wants to get back into coaching.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. Don't get it at all. Maybe Florida State's open.
It could be because they had a rough opening weekend. And Mike Norvell could be on the
Welcome back, Jimbo.
The reaction. I think my favorite part from the weekend was not just how it was a really fun game to watch. And anytime you get an upset, Swag texted us about Joe Tessitore. Now I was up at the Mariner game, so I didn't respond to it at the time, but I love Joe Tessitore. I think he brings the gravitas. It was a top 10 upset. Florida State, they were a 2-touchdown favorite to open. I know it got bet down to 10. I'm a big Joe Tessitore guy.
Are you?
I am.
Did you love him on Monday Night Football?
I'm out of the closet now, okay? I'm not afraid to admit that I love Joe Tessitore. I feel like that's kind of controversial when people say, like, Joe Tessitore's, he's only good on boxing, he's not good on football. I don't care, man. I'm out, and I'm loving every minute of it, and I love Joe Tessitore calling college football games.
That's quite literally a quote I've said, so you can just say I disagree with your takes.
Out. I'm out of the closet, and I'm okay. I'm flying my Joe Tessitore flag. He was great. Pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That was an awesome final call of that game.
I think we have the here is the final call.
Yeah, hit it.
44 yards away to it. He got it. And the Yellow Jackets did. Upset in hand. They found themselves a pot of gold at the end of their Irish rainbow.
Dude, that is a great call. That's a top 10 team going down. Swag's like, I want somebody to be a little more storytelling and breaking things down. Like, dude, it's college football. It's passion. It's fun. Bring energy. Gus Johnson, Joe Tessitore. I'm here for it.
Oh, he captured me Lucky Charms. I don't know what Swag wants in broadcasters because he's kind of he was mad D-Wade didn't do more, and I said, well, who does more for you? And he couldn't name anybody.
Here's the situation.
He's a play-by-play guy, so he's going to be you know where I land. I mean,
you're anti-Joe. It's okay.
Well, I watched the game because I saw the text late, and so I'm watching the next day. He's got a little Gus in him.
He absolutely has Gus in him.
And he runs for 6 yards.
See, and I didn't think he did. I thought a lot of those big calls were like 4th down conversions from Florida State. Like you hit a 30-yard pass on 4th and 8. You go for it. The game's on the line.
Seems a little.
I don't want you to be reading me a book. I don't want Al Michaels putting me to sleep. That's a touchdown.
No, I agree with you. Michaels is my GOAT, but like where he's at now in his life and all that. I don't know. There's a balance there.
Okay.
And I don't know what it is.
You're anti-Joe. It's okay. You can stay in the closet.
I like Joe.
Stay in the closet.
Joe seems like a good dude.
Be a bigoted closet person. That's all right.
I'm not. No, I'm not bigoted towards the Tessitore. His draft Guinness where him and Jesse Palmer had their faces on it. That was funny.
That was funny. That's good.
He seems like a good dude. It just sometimes it feels like he amps up the volume a little. On plays that I'm like, that was a 10-yard gain. It wasn't like back-breaking for the defense.
Big play right there. Big play in that moment. Big play in that moment. I do have a PSA to Florida State. If you're going to spend the entire offseason making fun of Kirk Herbstreit and complaining about your conference and getting left out of the college football playoff, maybe don't lose your opener to Georgia Tech as a 10-point favorite.
Don't tout your defensive line as one of the top units in the country.
Maybe let's not do that.
You had Cianci on when I was out.
I did, yeah.
How was he?
He was good.
Did he give any thoughts on Florida State? Did he say anything about Florida State?
I asked him his top. I actually reacted to it. So I asked him his top 10 team that was going to fall off that he didn't buy into, and he said Michigan was his team.
Oh, okay.
And that's definitely a widely held opinion out there. And I followed it up with, you hit it sometimes, but I literally did 15 minutes on Friday of how Florida State's not going to be good this year, and it felt really good to watch that game. I love Georgia Tech plus some money. That was a game I wish I could gamble college football. This is one, and Schultze's brought this up on the show. One of the weird benefits of the new NCAA football game is learning about teams.
Yeah.
And if I didn't play as Georgia Tech, I would have the only thing I know about Georgia Tech last year is that Mario didn't take a knee, and they somehow won that game. That was the Georgia Tech game.
Bad call, too, by the ACC.
It was a bad call, but you deserve the bad call if you don't take a knee. That's all I knew. And I played as Georgia Tech in my dynasty going into year 6. I lost in the semifinals again, dude. I can't get through the semifinals. But I'm going into years. I'm like, dude, they got a great running back. Haynes King's a good athlete, a quarterback. They got some underrated wide receivers, a senior-led offensive line. I knew everything about that team because of the video game. And somebody tweeted it was like, Dirt had a great breakdown of this matchup, primarily because he led Georgia Tech in a dynasty. And I was like, you're damn right I did. It felt good.
I'm 11-0 in the college football playoff with the Beavers right now.
So, what year of the dynasty are we in?
Year 1, baby.
Year 1, right out of the gate, 11-0.
This is Road to Glory. This is
Road to Glory.
My personal.
Okay.
I'm not on the dynasty. This is my personal whatever player.
Much like Dirt and Saturday, you know how Schultze's winning with Oregon State right now in the Mountain West?
Run the ball.
You got to run, the ball.
Right, my quarterback scrambles a lot.
Run the ball.
Got to be able to scramble in that game, man.
Brent Key, man, great drop.
Somebody saying, did FSU game feel like watching the Beavers last year? It did a little bit, just a little
It did. There's a lot there. You're like, I feel like we should be doing. But again, I want to defend DJ here. Okay, this is my only defense. He missed some. God, there were some bad throws.
Some really bad throws.
Also had a pretty pivotal drop early. That freshman running back in the flat that would have been massive for them. And the defense had an almost 8-minute drive on them. They took up the whole second quarter.
In the final 21
and
minutes of the game.
He drove them down there and tied
did.
it. Like, he did what he kind of needed to do when he needed to do it. They're just a couple possessions that, it left me Oregon State vibes.
In the last 21 minutes of that game, I believe they had the ball one time.
Yeah, defense should not be getting shredded like that.
That's a big issue for you. So not all on DJ, but, man, hell of a way to start the season. You had that. I didn't see much of the New Mexico game, but I guess that was kind of a bonkers game that Montana State ended up winning. They were a big favorite, and I forgot Bronco Mendenhall's now at New Mexico, so there's a fun fact for you. And then it was kind of night-capped. The Hawaii game wasn't on TV.
They didn't cover.
But you had SMU and Nevada, which was a 4-touchdown spread, and they got a safety late. Like, I was watching that game on the train ride home thinking, the dirty poll is high on SMU. I'm high on their supply, and I was almost incredibly wrong. Probably still am, because if you're struggling to beat Nevada, not a good sign for where your year's going to go. But a really fun opening weekend, week 0. Week 0 is still stupid. Give me the full slate. Let's start the year. Give me the full slate in week 0. Start the season. Final answer.
Thanks for retweeting me.
Come out of the closet for Joe Tessitore. I'm here. I'm loud, and I'm proud, and I'm very happy to do it.
Poll question of, do you love Joe Tessitore on the call of a college football game? Yes or no?
Okay, perfect.
I don't want to do a meh, okay.
No, either or.
Stop fence sitting.
Pick a side.
Pick a lane.
Damn right. We'll wrap it up. Send your way on a Monday. Next on The Fan. Loud and proud here for Joe T. Big Joe Tessitore guy.
Run the ball.
He's got high T, I'll tell you that much.
He does have high T.
He has to have high T.
Yes, right now is winning the poll question at Dirt and Sprague.
My people are out there. Somebody also pointed out this weekend, Jesse Palmer, what a life, man.
Great life. The
Bachelor. He's doing The Bachelor, calling college football games.
Did he get married, or is he still a bachelor? Because
I don't know.
I thought he was married.
If I looked as good as Jesse Palmer.
He is such a good-looking guy.
Oh, he's great looking.
My wife loves him, too, because he's now hosting like the spring baking championships or the summer baking
Yeah,
championship.
he does do a hosting of something random.
On Food Network. So
he
my
does
wife's like,
baking championships now, too?
Yes, yes, he does. He is like the host.
Yeah. Get a free cupcake, make some good cash on the side. Seriously.
Yeah, he is married to Brazilian photographer and model Emily Fardo.
Him and Michael Bublé did it right.
Who's more beautiful in that relationship? Who's out kicking the coverage?
Fardo is kind of a funny last name. They met in a boxing class in 2017.
Oh, she's a badass.
Yeah, she's
break into that house, see what happens.
I mean, she's a Brazilian model.
Jesse Palmer will stun you with a smile, and then she'll come out and just kick your ass.
What a life, dude. People, you're jealous. Jesse Palmer, what a gig. That guy's got it figured out.
Are we jealous of Jesse Palmer? Yes or no? At Dirt and Sprague, I'll put that poll question up as well.
Dude, to be that good looking, are you kidding me? Look at me. You don't think I'm jealous of Jesse Palmer?
I did want to quickly, just one more time, I know it's a little nauseating and sometimes I feel a little uncomfortable talking about things.
Yes.
I did want to quickly shout out everybody at Hood Coast for putting on the event every year. The amount of work that takes, the cities, the local people who help and are involved, the volunteers. I don't know what it was. It felt like the volunteers this year stepped it up even more than I've ever experienced before.
Okay, that's good
to
hear.
They were great. The porta potties were as clean as they've ever been.
Oh, yeah, brother. That's key.
So Dan and everybody over at Hood to Coast, thank you guys. You put on a great event every year. It means a lot to a lot of people. It changes their lives. And this year, I just really wanted to note, I thought the volunteers and everybody that gives their time to be out there in the middle of the night.
Middle of the night.
Middle of the night, middle of nowhere. I'm talking, hey, do I go left or right here?
Yeah, am I going to get shanked by a homeless person? I don't know.
Right. They did a great job this year. Did a good event.
Well, round of applause.
Great job.
Round of applause
everybody.
to the Hood to Coast bros out there and broettes,
Yes.
everybody who successfully finished the race this weekend. It's good to have you back. And nice medal. Sprague's wearing his medal if you've been watching on YouTube. You can see that today. Let's get to some poll questions. Just early return so far. Early return. You mentioned the Joe Tessitore one. Right now it's 61% of you saying yes. 32 or 38, I should say. Sorry. Percent saying no. Will Mike Tomlin finally have a sub 500 year this year in Pittsburgh? Early return on this. 57% of you say yes, he will.
Yeah, baby.
They're due for a sub 500 500
All right, Schultz, if he's sub 500, you owe me $100.
Well, you better pay up if he is not.
No. That's not the bet.
Oh, shut up.
Make the bet. People are telling you, Sprague, make the bet. What are you doing here? Take Schultz's bet.
I love how you're telling me to pay
50.
up. Okay, I'll go 50.
He said those
Air
two
shake.
thinking they will be 9-8 in that division, especially at the end of the year with that schedule. No bleeping way.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate the confidence.
Mason Rudolph might be better than Russell Wilson, and you just don't know it yet.
Oh, my God.
That's what's crazy. Kenny Two Gloves might be better than
Kenny
Justin
Two
Fields.
Gloves. Is that what you're telling me? Kenny Two, like that division had the Ravens in it. The Browns were a playoff team last year, and the Bengals damn near made the playoffs too. Remember they hung around.
Burrow's back.
Is he? Is he going to stay healthy? Is Lamar going to stay healthy?
Every other year, Burrow is healthy.
Sure he is.
Now we're on the other year.
It's actually not every other year. He went unhealthy, healthy, unhealthy.
So now he's healthy.
Now, okay.
It's the start of a 2-year run of health.
Is Lamar going to stay healthy all year?
Damn right.
Okay. Is Deshaun Watson going to throw for 300 yards in a game all season?
They got a 38 quarterback to play really well for them last year. I don't think it matters.
Nick Chubb's out all year. Like, I'm not scared. I'm not scared of you, AFC
I
North.
think you are scared.
I'm not scared of you.
Go look at their schedule.
500 or better.
Go look at their schedule.
Because that's always an easy game to play in August.
Loss.
Yeah, the Jets were going to be a tough team to everybody last year, and then they had a MILF Hunter starting a quarterback for half the season. How'd that work out for you?
Dude, at Falcons, yeah, that's a loss. At Broncos, bow up, bitch.
All right, shut up, Francis.
Chargers at home, Herbie,
that's a loss. That's
at
a
the
loss.
Colts,
I'll give you that. That's not a loss.
Cowboys,
Not a loss.
Dude, the Jets. Oh, the commies are coming to town. They're shaking in their boots.
That will do it for us, folks. If you missed it, we had Sean Keeler on. He's been in the news lately.
He's good. We should get him back on for Bronco talk.
Absolutely. He was really good. He has been banned from asking questions of Prime, Coach Prime. He has upset Coach Prime. So you can go catch that 1080thefan.com, at Dirt and Sprague, and at 1080thefan on Twitter. Tomorrow, Stuart Mandel.
Stuart Mandel.
Daily Ticker.
Glad you reminded me of that. Got to tape with him after the show.
Stuart Mandel.
Yes.
7:30 mañana. You'll hear his thoughts on the upcoming college football season. Football is back, folks. We're happy.
Oh.
To all the teachers returning to work this week, thanks for being here.
I hope you enjoyed your time off, and thank you.
Thank you.
Being a teacher.
Thank you.
Not easy.
Thank you. A lot of thank yous in the final segment. We love you all. Thanks for being a part of our Monday. We will talk to you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Calling us next. You're listening to 1080 The Fan.
I'm Ryan Horvath, here to help you beat the books with BetQL. The Mike Elko era starts in